Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m. WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The White House says automakers will get a 1-month exemption from tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said President Trump spoke to the big three automakers yesterday. She said the president granted the exemption so they are not at an economic disadvantage. Dozens of Euclid residents have to find new homes after their buildings were condemned by the city. City officials condemned 26 of the 33 buildings at Parkside Gardens on 260th Street this week. Tenants say they've been given all of 3 days to find new housing. And a Mercer County, Pennsylvania Civil War monument damaged in 2024 windstorm is whole once again. The piece depicting Lady Victory and a Civil War soldier stands outside the Mercer County Courthouse and lost its top in bad weather last March. Insurance covered the cost of repairs. In sports, the Cavaliers beat the Heat 112-107. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Patchy blowing snow mainly this morning. Snow accumulation around an inch. It'll be breezy and much cooler with highs in the mid-30s. Now at last check, we had flurries in the Cleveland area, 30 degrees. Akron and Canton actually reporting light snow and 30 degrees. And Youngstown has light snow as well, 32 the temperature.
It's time for your moron moment.
We celebrate America's #1 cookie each year on March 6th with National Oreo Day. At Mornings with Brian, you know we love a good cookie. With crisp chocolate cookies and creamy fillings, Oreos have captured our hearts and our stomachs. The Oreo was first introduced in 1912 and has been the best-selling cookie in America ever since. And that's your Moron Moment.
Moron.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:02 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Big day in front of us here on WCRF. Good morning. Daria's still out. She's attending a funeral in Florida. Tough situation we'll talk more about when she returns. But have no fear, Lauren is at the helm of all of it, really, today.
I guess.
I mean, the show, the live stream.
I am in charge of the live stream and the texts, but that's usual, the texts.
In fact, yesterday you were quite proud of yourself for your post on social about Ron Eastwood.
Yeah, I love having the chance to do the more Ron moment.
You did it well.
I put a little nurse hat on him.
And a stethoscope.
Yes.
That was curiously listening to his armpit, but it was...
Well, I had to make the graphic big enough to get to his ears.
And you never know what's going on in there. That's,
Yeah, I gotta check the armpits.
Yeah.
Why not? But the big news today is that we have an hour with a guy that usually makes almost breaks the
Crashes
internet.
our systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Palmer, a.k.a. the Cranky Arborist, is going to be here to help you prepare your property, your yard, your whatever for spring.
Vegetation.
Like we're all, if you're like me, you're starting to think about it. You're like, it's almost time.
Yeah, I was looking at our beds yesterday. I was like, gotta get some mulch.
Oh, you were... Even Lauren look at you. You're just a homeowner thinking about your mulch.
Thinking about mulch.
Wow. I'm looking at the leaves that were not cleaned up over the fall, and I thought I should clean them up.
No.
Yeah, then I remembered.
No, the ground, whatever they're called.
The
ground pollinators.
Yeah.
We'll ask John all about it. Leave them there.
Yeah, you got to leave the leaves.
Leave them there.
Now, what would Lauren a couple years ago say to Lauren today, who's daydreaming about mulch?
Well, how many years ago are you asking?
Well, you didn't have, like, what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
3 years ago, we did have a yard.
Oh my, okay.
We had a 2-story walk-up apartment, and our landlord said, "Do whatever you want with the yard." We had our own backyard with our neighbor,
about this.
and we did redo our whole backyard.
So this is not that weird for you to daydream about mulch.
No, we got a lot of mulch back then.
Way to go, Lauren!
Thank you.
I'm so excited. I have my own problem where, well, I mean, get in line. We've got a lot of issues here, but it makes me feel better if I make you part of my problem.
The royal we.
So I have a buddy who his neighbor was digging up their, I want to say rutabaga, but that's not a thing because rutabagas are so worthless. I don't know who does anything with those.
Beets.
Yeah, they're just ridiculous. No, rhubarb is what it is.
Rhubarb.
Oh.
They were digging up their mature rhubarb plants, and my buddy goes, wait. I've got a friend who really wants rhubarb. Sarah and I have unsuccessfully tried to grow rhubarb in our yard. We don't know why it didn't work.
And what are you going to do with it? Make tea or?
Sarah makes a mean strawberry rhubarb crisp.
Okay.
There's, with the strawberry and the rhubarb together.
It's a combo deal.
Yeah. You got to know what to do with the rhubarb. Otherwise, it's very, what would you say, bitter?
Yeah.
But it can become actually very sweet and yummy if you do the right thing to it. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have either of you had dragon fruit?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It tasted like dirt. I don't know if I got a bad one.
Yeah, I was
I'm
excited.
going to try this. And it was bad.
Yeah,
I don't know if I ate it wrong.
No, I think I had some on the cruise we went on. What does it look like again?
Like, it's round, probably like bigger than an orange and spiky. And then you cut it open and it's white with black speckles.
Yeah, I tried that. I was like, don't call it a dragon fruit because that implies, wow, exciting. This is going to be so exciting for me when I put this in my mouth. No, it was depressing. I was like, what is this? I worked for this?
Yeah, it really didn't taste good.
No.
I've been wondering for years now, actually. Did I eat it wrong?
No.
Was it bad? Was it a bad dragon fruit?
No, it's like not all fruit is excellent. If you think about,
No, I don't know about that.
have you ever heard of durian?
Oh, I've heard of it. I've never had it.
So a guy named Andrew Zimmern, he had a show on some travel channel or something, and it was Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern, where they sent him all over the world to eat stuff that nobody else wants to eat. In America, at least.
Oh.
Wow.
Like rare delicacies around the world. Like there's one country where you take a duck egg that's about to hatch, and then you like do something, like cook it or ferment it or something.
You put it in the ground or something?
Yeah, and then you eat it. And he did it, right? There's only one food he refused to eat. Durian.
Oh, wow. Well, guess I'm going to go get one and make you try it.
Like he heaves when he puts it in his mouth. It's just disgusting, stinky fruit. It's horrible, but I guess, in fact, it's outlawed in certain areas where it's native.
Outlawed?
Yeah, because it smells so bad. Like you can't bring it in here and eat it. Whatever, don't bring it in here. It's going to stink too bad.
Oh.
So I tell you what, we're going to put it in the category of dragon fruit. Now, all that to say, John Palmer is going to help you get your yard ready to go, and I need his advice on this. I have a clump in a bucket of basically dead. What is
Rhubarb.
Rhubarb. And I don't know, like, what do I do with it? And he'll get annoyed because that's what he does.
Yeah. He's cranky.
He's cranky, and it's not his fault. Like
He's cranky in an endearing way.
Yeah, because none of us know what we're doing.
Exactly.
And if you
Like,
encountered
that makes
people,
sense. We just chop off this limb, and he's like, "Why would you do that?
yeah,
That's the dumbest thing you've ever said."
in fact, I can almost guarantee every decision you've made with plants
It's wrong,
is totally wrong. And John is cranky about it.
and he's going to tell you.
So you can actually get in line by text if you want to submit your questions to make sure that you, this spring, do the right things with your plants and trees and arborvitaes. And that's the weirdest name plant, arborvitae. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is, but I like saying it.
It's tall, thin, evergreen.
Arborvitae.
Oh, it's a tree varietal.
Everybody, he's mad at people about that one. They
It's
like
kind
to
of
trim it.
a bush-like tree.
Oh, okay.
Thin, stays thin, but it shoots up high.
Yeah, I said it wrong last time. He was pretty upset.
Well, text those questions in for the cranky arborist, John Palmer. He'll be here at 7, from 7 to 8. 440-546-2255. And I also have a goat problem. My goat, this one stupid goat, sorry, he's really dumb. He's nice.
Yeah, he can't help it.
Yeah, he's a goat. He keeps eating the bark off of the bottom of trees, like all as far as he can reach.
Well, maybe he
All the
needs
way
some
around.
fiber.
Well, what? Stop eating the tree. It's stupid. But I don't know if the tree's going to die now.
Well, you let him go in the pasture, so.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Put him in the house?
Well, the world is his oyster out there in the pasture.
Or wrap the tree.
See, this is things I don't think about. Now we're going to find out if that's a problem.
I'm Team Henry. I think you're being a little bit rude to him.
Henry, Henry the goat is hard to describe. He's a Nubian goat, and he's bigger than he should be.
He's really tall.
He's tall.
He's kind of freaky.
He's bigger than like a mastiff. If you think about dogs, think about large dogs, he's bigger than that. But he's got these spindly legs, and he's got a horn that didn't come in right.
Big old
that's
belly.
looking crazy, big fat belly, crazy eyes,
Scary eyes.
He's got the rectangle pupils. It's like ah, and then he's not smart. He likes to come up and get right in my face. He doesn't do anything. He just gets right in there and just kind of
Just check and make sure there.
yeah. So anyway, we're going to find out what I need to do with that guy to save my trees. 440-546-2255.
He's not a goat guy.
But he's a tree guy. I'm caring more about my trees than my goat at this moment. So, Dana, how is Dana?
Yeah.
She had her knee replaced.
Yes, and she's doing much better. Obviously still in her recliner almost all day. Gets up, for a little walk now and then.
Did you give her a bell for when she needs help?
No.
You should.
That has been suggested so many times.
Really? By
Yeah.
who?
Oh, nurses at the hospital, friends, relatives.
Well, Ron, maybe you should take heed.
I have my phone, and I told her I would take it off of silence for her.
Oh, that's
while I'm
nice.
sleeping.
That counts.
Yeah. But when I got home yesterday from here, her sister had come over early, then her mom and dad came over, and then our daughter brought some of the grandkids over who weren't already in school. And my second youngest granddaughter, Dolly, she came and was talking to her a little bit. Then she comes in the kitchen and looks at me. She goes, "I want to make some food for Mimi."
Oh.
A little empathetic soul.
Oh.
So,
And did you help her?
yeah, we got out some cottage cheese and some peaches on top. Let her serve it up.
But I think the real headline here in the story is that we've found the boundary of Ron's love. Like
He's not going to do a bell.
you do so many things for people, like
Not a bell.
and you love Dana so deeply. But if you're not giving that woman a bell.
No. Well, I'm sitting in the same room with her almost the entire time I'm there. But I just didn't want to hear ding-a-ling-a-ling because she would do that just to annoy me.
Are you going to coach him a little bit here?
No, it's fine.
The way you said it, though, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yep, he can have that. I guess if you have one flaw, Ron, there it is.
He provided a different way. He did say he would take his phone off silent. So it's not like he's just meandering around the house.
Yeah, but you can also silence a call. You can't silence a bell.
True.
Oh,
a
yeah, you
fact.
just like hit the button and you don't hear anymore.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I didn't see the call, Dana. I don't know what happened here. And then the other thing I wanted to go over, because some people missed it. It was a big day for me yesterday. Oh, why did you make that sound? Why did you make that sound?
It's kind of like, I didn't mean to, but it's like what happened.
That was so funny. You made a passing comment during the show about my eating habits. And
Did you bring another one?
This is still here from yesterday.
Oh, okay.
If you're not on the live stream, if you're on the live stream, you can see it. You can text live to 440-546-2255. But I'm moving, I'm shaking, I need quick lunch. Mm-hmm. So I did the obvious thing and I got the Manchurian instant lunch.
Come again? Manchurian?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I would
Nope,
say that.
that's not it.
Yeah.
Maruchan.
Maruchan, yeah. But
I don't know how
maybe
I would say
Manchurian.
it, but
you
it's
know
not
that's
Manchurian.
not it. Why did I say it? I've always said, I've never read it carefully. Wow, I've been totally wrong. Sorry, Maruchan. Instant lunch. And it's got vegetables in it. Do you hear them?
For those who don't know, it's ramen. It's the ramen in a styrofoam cup with dehydrated peas and carrots that you put hot water in.
Yeah.
Or put regular water and heat it up.
And we found out that it contains, talk about nutrition, 50% of my daily value of sodium.
Nice.
It's terrible.
How much sodium in the whole cup?
It was 1,100 micrograms or something.
1,150 micrograms.
In the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so one serving is the whole cup.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh,
That's
a
too
good,
much.
good point, because a lot of times they'll
trying to
tell
be
you,
sneaky.
how many servings, and then, that cup is actually 2 or 3 servings.
Yeah, serving
What?
size, 1 container.
Good, because that's accurate to how people would eat it.
Yeah,
They
so
should change that for pints of ice cream. They're like, oh, there's 12 servings in here. Like, oh.
no, I think there's 3. Thank you very much. But no, I went yesterday because of the kindness of a group of listeners who were, they could have been rude to me.
They were
but
concerned.
They were concerned for my health. In my
Yeah.
mid-40s, I need to calm down with the ramen.
I think we're late 40s.
No. 46 is
Yeah.
mid.
One more year mid, yeah.
Either that or if you're doing that, you're in your mid-30s, lady. 31, mid-30s.
Fine.
Okay, well, back off. Thank you. But in college, I could have that every day, and now I shouldn't do it. I went to the grocery store, and I got a series of vegetables, and I made this
A little lunch? You
and-
did a meal prep?
and
Oh my gosh.
legumes like chickpeas,
Wow.
and black beans, and I got some dressing
Okay.
And
So it's like a little salad.
and some tuna,
Oh my gosh.
and
Look
I made
at
a
you.
little thing, and then I also a second meal with broccoli, steamed broccoli, and chicken thighs.
Sometimes shaming does work.
Yeah, and it did. I don't know how this is going to go, but I did it.
Have you tried it? Was it tasty?
I haven't tried it.
That's my greatest flaw in life is I don't taste what I make. And then I just am like, oh, this is fine.
Well, I put there's peppers, there's olives, there's chickpeas,
Oh my gosh.
broccoli. There's all the things in there. Corn.
I'm going to have to take a look.
How could it be bad?
It couldn't be.
With a little dressing, everything tastes
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And I'll
Look
have
at
to go,
you.
I'll have to go easy on the dressing though, because that's my.
Yeah, that's the bad
I'll
part.
be like, oh, salad bar, great. Croutons,
400 pounds of ranch.
bacon bits. Yeah, and I didn't do that. So okay, maybe I'll be healthy now. Coming up in just a minute, I can't believe she's letting me do it. Relevant Magazine has published 25 Christian pickup lines.
That would have been nice 50 years ago.
Yeah, well, we're going to help you, Christian, with some amazing pickup Everybody loves a good pickup line. So we have Christian pickup lines. And before she gets too persnickety about this, Lauren Cuevas, her husband Eddie, used a pickup line on her at the grocery store.
But not to
yes, he did.
But not to get to know me.
Yeah, but it was still funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Can you remind us how that went before we get to
Yes. We went to church together and went to church with his sister and his cousin as well. And we would always go to the grocery store after church together. We're at the grocery store. We all part ways. I'm in the vegetables. And someone comes up from behind me and he goes, you shop here often? And I turned around. It was Eddie. He was my boyfriend.
That's great, Eddie. Okay, so Ron and I have carefully curated the right music for this.
Okay.
We'll see.
Let's hit it, band.
Oh, nice.
Couple of Christian pickup lines. Hey, girl, is your name Grace? Because you're amazing.
Ooh, very good. Very good.
Ron.
So, what's up, girl? I was reading through the book of Numbers, and I realized
No,
I didn't
I
have
don't
yours.
Okay.
Hey, you and me, we'd make a pretty good yoke.
Wow. That's for the Old Testament fans around.
Hey, girl, I'd
Are
leave...
you calling me an ox? That's what I would say.
Oh, that'd be such a good response. I'd be like, no.
No.
Hey, girl, I'd leave 99 sheep to come find you.
Okay. No.
Hey, what's up, girl? Do you believe in divine appointments? Because I think God just scheduled one for us.
All right.
You didn't like that one. Okay. How about this
No,
one?
I don't like that one.
Are we perhaps the walls of Jericho?
Oh, no.
Because my heart just fell for you.
Oh, no.
No?
I feel like the story of Jericho is like a little... don't want to be associated.
This one's so bad. Here we go. What's up, girl? Are you Goliath? Because you just knocked me out.
Oh, so you're saying I'm giant.
I knew that's what you're going to say.
So you're saying I'm giant. Okay.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be the other way?
I know, it
No.
doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
If I Goliath is what it'd be,
Yeah.
because you just knocked me out.
But you read it correctly?
I did.
Oh,
This is
okay.
why it's so great.
Yeah.
Are you David?
Yeah. I would change it to I feel like Goliath because you just knocked me out.
That's good, Ron.
That's much better.
That's much better.
I like it better, though, where you set up the smart woman to go, you call me big?
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Hey, I think we met before. Oh, right, in the book of life.
No.
Our names are written in
weird.
the book. We're both saved.
But we haven't met just because our names are in there.
And we're not the ones who get to read it, so...
So, ma'am, excuse me. Are you manna?
Oh.
Because I'm falling for you daily.
No.
But
you
manna
fell
is-
from heaven, maybe. But yeah.
It would be he's manna because manna's the thing that falls.
Right.
Whoever wrote these needs to get their positions in the joke right.
So, are you perhaps a Bible verse? Because I feel like God's been speaking to me through you. Ron is not a big fan of
Ron's not
these.
a fan. I mean, me neither, but
Okay.
Brian likes them.
How about my favorite one?
He's disappointed he wasn't able to use them.
Yeah, I was too scared to use an actual pickup line. I mean, I just was too scared. I was like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with friends.
Yeah, so you
Sarah,
just
do you wanna
chased her on your tractor.
come with us? Yeah, I followed her around. I stalked her in my lawnmower. And it worked. So what do you want? Here's my favorite one. Thanks, drummer. The drummer knows it's my favorite one.
Yeah.
You, lady, must be made of water because Jesus turned you into fine. Fine, get it? Not wine. Fine. Come on.
No. Pass.
Well, we tried.
Yeah. I like Grace one the best.
If
Is
you're
your name
listening
Grace?
and you have a better Bible pickup line, please text it in to 440-546-2255 because these were bad.
Okay, let's be like Noah's Ark and pair up 2 by 2.
A little aggressive.
Girl. Are you the Red Sea lady? Because you just parted my troubles. Girl.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
Girl.
631 WCRF. It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Christian counseling for adults, couples, children, and families. North Coast Family Foundation. So the co-founder of Wikipedia got saved.
Yes, he did.
Now, before we get into some details of his conversion, which is pretty fascinating, how do y'all feel about Wikipedia? Big fan? Small fan?
I'm confused.
By Wikipedia?
Yeah, because for a long time it was like, Wikipedia is not a reliable source. Anyone can go in there and edit it. And then somehow along the way it was like, no, it's reliable.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that change happened and what made it change.
And now it's the top result often when you're looking for something.
I use it quite a bit just to get a quick overview of some person or topic. But if I really, if I'm studying something more in depth, Wikipedia won't be the only source. It's like a beginning source, and then you start to vet what it says because of the fact that, as Lauren mentioned, anybody can go in and change the notes. And we've seen that happen where somebody posts something into a site, and then the people who disagree with it will post something different, and then it becomes, editing wars.
Yeah, comedian Stephen Colbert said it like this: Wikipedia is the first place I go when I'm looking for knowledge or when I want to create some. Now, we have our own trauma of sorts.
Truly.
With Wikipedia. So our station manager wanted to play a joke on me. And he went to the website or the Wikipedia page of my alma mater, Winona State University from Winona, Minnesota. And if you scroll down at the very bottom, they have a section, Noteworthy Alumni. Mm-hmm. And there's a list of people, some of which are very noteworthy. Some are like, well, okay.
Congressmen, stuff like that.
But some are like, hey, is a general in the Army or whatever, or a writer or something. And he put me in there. You can edit it. He put me in there with a link to the website for our radio station and my bio on that website. Mm-hmm. Haha, he sent it out to everybody. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. When Lauren went to look at it, it was gone.
Removed.
Yeah, same with me.
We did a deep dive, and there's a guy who's declared himself the university Wikipedia police. Literally.
Yes.
No one's appointed him this position. He's not paid for it.
It was removed within under 30 minutes.
And then there are websites that describe him and his reign of terror on university Wikipedia pages.
He has an editor page on Wikipedia, and you could leave a comment or ask, why did you take this off? And then he replies back with his reasoning of why he took it off. So there was a bunch of posts of hey, I put this on this university page, and I linked it back to the actual documentation of this actually is happening at this university. Why did you remove it? And then he just replies with strange answers.
Yeah, he gives long-winded technical answers that essentially say, because I wanted to.
Yeah.
He doesn't think it's good enough.
Because I'm in charge, nah, boo-boo.
I'm going to go in and ask him why he removed you.
Yeah, well, so we know that there's
so
somebody
he can say
there.
you're not famous enough.
Well, I'm not.
That's so rude.
I mean, I don't blame him for removing me from that thing, but it's still right now, 6.8 million articles in over 300 languages on Wikipedia, although it had a predecessor. It launched, the predecessor, Newpedia, launched in 2000. And the entrepreneurs Jimmy Wales and Lawrence Sanger, they wanted a free online encyclopedia with peer-reviewed and edited content from experts. But after 6 months, they had 2 articles posted. It was too difficult to get through their system. So they launched Wikipedia, and then, bam, it went nuts because, of course, you don't have to have anybody check your work, which is why people don't trust it as much.
Right.
So Wikipedia, actually, if you don't know this, wiki is a Hawaiian word which means quick.
Oh, a quick encyclopedia.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either, but now you know. That's where it came from. Now, Larry Sanger, again, is one of the co-founders. He's a philosopher, and he's been a Christian skeptic for most of his life. And he actually distanced himself pretty early on from Wikipedia, saying it's like a place that's run by a bunch of bullies, self-proclaimed experts. Not the company, the guy we encountered. He's like, their editors, they're just ruining the place. So he's distanced himself from it. But he said this. Relevant Magazine indicates that while he was very busy challenging internet institutions, his personal worldview was undergoing an overhaul. Raised in the Lutheran Church, he drifted from faith in his teens after his father introduced him to New Age philosophies. His skepticism solidified at Reed College, a school that literally describes its unofficial motto as communism, atheism, free love.
Oh my.
He even reached out to a pastor on his doubts, and the pastor kind of brushed him off. And that solidified his skepticism.
Not good.
He found new atheist arguments unimpressive. He said, I scanned books produced by new atheists like Dawkins and Harris and could never bring myself to actually buy one. They were just so transparently mediocre. By 2011, he started publicly defending Christians against unfair attacks, is what he saw. In 2019, he picked up a
That's
Bible,
nice.
not an act of faith, but an intellectual exercise. Like he was like, I guess I got to actually read this thing because I'm a philosopher.
Yeah, at least got to try before I say I don't like it.
He said, I was ashamed to realize that despite having a PhD in philosophy, I'd never really understood what theology even is. And so as a learner, he dug in. After years of internal debates, he's come to a firm conclusion. He believes the Bible's true, God is real, Jesus is the Savior of the world. And because he can't do anything halfway, he's now spent the last 5 years writing a book called God Exists, a philosophical case for the Christian God. It's a 200,000 word and counting intellectual endeavor into Christian apologetics.
Oh.
And his key takeaway, everybody should read the Bible daily.
Very nice.
Isn't that wild?
I love that.
And this is often the case when I've encountered people who are skeptics or they are atheists, whatever, they never actually read the Bible.
Yeah, they've just been taught somehow through culture or whatever just to be a skeptic about it.
Yeah, and it's just dumb, full of contradictions. But
Yeah.
then when they actually examine it, their life is transformed.
And being I don't know, he's like into like education and stuff like that. He's going to go look at the historical facts of it too in his journey and see that it does check out.
Yeah, I mean, you can even verify historically the empty tomb. And I know
Yeah.
people get freaked out when you say that, but there's multiple accounts. Now, what they say is the accusations of why it was empty. So you can read from Tacitus and some other historians and Josephus who will talk about it, but there's no disputing even the empty tomb. It's incredible.
Yes.
So if you haven't ever read it, honestly, read it. It's a historical work. It'll change your life.
And what I love about this story is he was raised in the church and came back around. So don't deny the importance of your nursery and children's church and taking your children to church, teaching them, because they may drift, but that foundation was stuck deep within him. And even though he got his PhD in philosophy, he came back around and that intrigued him enough to study the Bible.
Yeah, and intellectuals out there, it sounds crazy to say, they bristle when you say this, but the Bible is the most valid and reliable historical document in the entire world. There are more copies of it than we have copies of Homer's works and Shakespeare's works. There's entire passages of Shakespeare that are in dispute. That is not true for the scriptures. It's absolutely incredible. The more manuscripts that are discovered, the more the validity and reliability of the Bible is solidified. You just have to read it for yourself.
Right.
It's 6:46. We'll take a quick break here, and then we're going to, speaking of the Bible, chat amongst ourselves at least, and you're welcome to text in your ideas as well.
Please do.
That's what you want?
Yeah,
Okay.
I want them to text in.
So, favorite book of the Bible and why? Favorite book of the Bible and why? 440-546-2255. What's your favorite book of the Bible and why? 440-546-2255. We're going to go around the horn here in just a moment. But a quick reminder that John Palmer, a.k.a. the Cranky Arborist, will be here very soon because spring is in the air, except today. I mean, yesterday it was. Today it's not.
Yeah.
It'll be back later. We don't want you to do the wrong things in the yard. I'm itching to get out there and start doing stuff. And I've learned from John, every one of my ideas of what I should do is totally wrong. That's
Exactly.
That's why he's
exactly
cranky.
right.
So you can text in those questions, 440-546-2255. Brave Sir Ronald, favorite
Yes.
Bible book of the Bible, and why?
It varies from season to season,
Yeah.
so to speak, but one of my favorites is Proverbs, just because the practical wisdom.
Yeah, love it.
Sometimes it gets confusing where it says, do this and you'll be happy. And then it says the next verse, don't do that exact same thing because you'll be foolish. And you're like, well, what does that mean? And you have to dig a little deeper. But all in all, there's a lot of life lessons, and it can be bite size if you just want to, read one proverb a day or, a couple verses a day and stretch it out. But it's very helpful and practical for biblical living.
Very good. Our resident Bible scholar, Moody Bible Institute graduate, Lauren
Yes.
Cuevas. I don't know that I've ever asked you this.
No, you haven't.
So this is one of the reasons why we're talking about it here, because we haven't talked about it in quite a while. What is your favorite book of the Bible?
Hebrews.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, that fits because Eddie likes to make coffee.
Yes.
Hebrews.
Every church coffee shop, Hebrews, Cup of Joy.
Now, to be honest, I'm anxious to hear more about this because I think it's a New Testament book a lot of people skip because it's pretty heavy.
It is. It's a heavy lift. It's a lot different than the rest of the books in the New Testament.
So why do you like it? Because it's a heavy lift?
No.
You gave me an eye roll with that.
I like it because I like the look back of how Jesus has fulfilled all of these people and things that we thought were supposed to be fulfilling. He's the greater and better Moses. He's the greater and better Adam. He's,
Isn't that where we learn about Melchizedek as well?
yeah. Hmm.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so I just like the look of that. It's this nice bow. Jesus is the better and perfect version of all these things we've tried to put our hope in before.
Well, that's a cool way to characterize that. And I think it is a good New Testament book for someone who leans intellectual and
Yeah.
likes theology. And I'm saying that in an honest way because I think that certainly would be you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you want a little bit of a workout when you're looking at Scripture, as opposed to some of them are just a
slow
little
down.
bit more
Yeah.
like matter of fact, easy to read. Okay. I've said it before. My favorite is hands down Ecclesiastes, which people always look at me sideways because most people start reading the first chapter or two and then they go, wow, this is depressing. And they, and they leave. I like it for two reasons. When I first dug into it, I was in a season of life where I had just had it with hyper-spiritual people. I had just had it. They felt insincere. Everything's always rosy and good. They felt like they had to be positive about everything. Oh, my dog just got ran over, but God's good and I'm happy. It's like, well, what? And I didn't know what to do because I felt like I must be doing it wrong. If I was frustrated by the unfairness of life or felt negative or whatever. And then also, like, I thought a lot of Christians were stuffy and boring. It's like, really? We can't have any fun around here? So the Lord guides me to Ecclesiastes, and it was like a breath of fresh air when I was reading cynical Solomon, having been the smartest and wealthiest man in the whole world, could clearly see how unfair life can be. And he was willing to say it. The good die young and the wicked prosper. And I was like, amen, brother. The rain falls on the wicked and the righteous.
Yes, it does.
And it was just freeing. I was like, okay, I don't have to pretend everything's great all the time. I can be honest about how I feel about things. Mm-hmm. And then he gives dramatic permission to have fun. And I just was like, yes, sir, thank you. In fact, there's 6 times he repeats it. No, 5 times he repeats this basic idea from Ecclesiastes 8:15. So I recommend having fun, because there's nothing better for people in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. That way we'll experience some happiness along with the hard work God gives us under the sun. Praise the Lord. Yeah, have a great time. Enjoy some good food. Hang out with your friends. You don't have to be a boring, stuffy killjoy. Ha ha. And I felt better. Okay.
Albert texted in and he said the book of Proverbs, because it's full of wisdom and teachings that we need daily. For example, something as simple as Proverbs 30:33 says, "For the churning of milk produces butter, the wringing of the nose produces blood, so the forcing of wrath produces strife."
That's a pretty good one.
And then Jay said, "My favorite book is Psalms, with honorable mention going to Isaiah. I read these two almost every month, all the time, and they just show me the glory of God, his goodness, his faithfulness, his salvation in the coming kingdom."
Yes, there's a lot of Psalms that are really helpful. When David gets angry about something and he's just honest before God, and that gives us permission, if you've
Ron.
grown up in the church, just like you were saying, Brian, how everything has got to be positive and,
It's like the Lego movie. Everything is awesome.
right. We don't want that. That's not how life really is.
Yeah, I've used those imprecatory Psalms when I go to Psalms when I'm having feelings. I wish I was more, dare I say, religious about sifting through like our friend that texted in, but I'm not. So I need to work on that. Any others you want to share, Lauren?
Yeah, Gloria said Psalms because its reading reassures me that no matter what I may do God's no matter what I may do, God will forgive me if I confess my sins to him.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some beautiful poetic reminders in Psalm. How about another one?
That's all I've got. But I do have some pickup lines if you want those that people texted me.
Do you think you have to ask me? No, I'd love those.
I'm searching for my missing rib, and I think you're the rib I've been looking for.
Girls would like that. Yeah, she went right past that.
Yeah, what did you say?
Girls would like that.
I'm not certain about that. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and that's all we've got before Ron's news and today's Moron Moment. And then I cannot wait. It's the moment I've been waiting for since the fall, when he told us we were putting away all of our plants wrong and trimming them inappropriately. The cranky arborist, John Palmer, will join us in a matter of moments to answer your questions about how do you handle your yard and your plants and your shrubs and all that in the spring and your trees. And you might be like, I don't need help with that. Yeah, you do. You're doing it wrong. I promise. I literally promise you that
Exactly.
you are doing it wrong.
Yes, you are.
And John, a certified...
Not that we know.
Well,
We think you're doing it right.
we're doing it wrong too.
Yeah.
He's a certified master arborist, and he'll be here to help us. He'll be a little cranky at how little we all know. 440-546-2255 is the number to get your questions in. 440-546-2255.
Water and residents of all ages need licenses to hunt. In sports, the Cavaliers beat the Heat 112-107. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Patchy blowing snow mainly this morning. Snow accumulation just around an inch. It'll be breezy and much cooler with highs in the mid-30s. And at last check, we did have flurries across most of our listening area. It's 29 degrees in Cleveland, 29 in Akron and Canton, and 29 in Lorain and Elyria as well.
It's time for your moron moment.
We celebrate America's #1 cookie each year on March 6th with National Oreo Day. At Mornings with Brian, you know we love a good cookie. With crisp chocolate cookies and creamy filling, Oreos have captured our hearts and our stomachs. The Oreo was first introduced in 1912, and it has been the best-selling cookie in America ever since. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It is 7:03 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ronnie.
I've been looking forward to this for months. You have been caring for your yard, your plants, and your trees and your shrubs totally wrong. What are you thinking? And I am too, and so is Ron and Lauren, and we need help because spring is in the air. So our cranky arborist friend, it's not a pejorative. He calls himself that. He's John Palmer, the cranky arborist. He's back.
Yeah, and it was a bad joke I used in one of my lectures, and then I come on here and said something about cranky arborist, and I'll have you know that you guys pulled a fast one on me and didn't tell me.
What?
I thought this was something that I was going to live down in my lectures. It was a throwaway line that in my lectures. And then I was talking to my daughter, and at some point I said, so we talked about cranky arborist because I was coming back on. You guys were the first one to do that, so you're the
I didn't know that.
You're the OG. And I literally I said, well, this would be interesting. I went online and I put in cranky arborist, and it's like the first 17 search results are me.
You're welcome.
Well,
I didn't realize. I knew you guys had a video channel, but I didn't realize that all this was going on here. And you're actually talking about me. It's not just like a throwaway line. I'm like, oh well.
we talk about you all the time.
We do.
when you're not here.
Well, that's the story of my life.
We defend you. We defend you.
Yes, we do.
You have a reason to be cranky.
Yes.
Well,
We're all doing it wrong, John.
Well,
all of us.
It's wonderful sense of the wrong kind of justification. So I'm justified in all my bad attitudes just because I can say, because I drove by and I saw this tree and somebody did something horrible to it. So I'm going to be cranky today.
It's a slight irritation. And we deserve some chastising, sir. We deserve every minute of it. Be nice to the plants.
Well, it's one of those things. I when it comes to what people do, I have no problem with Mr. and Ms. homeowner just doing the best they can. Yeah. I have no problem with that. Now, my problem is the people that actually get paid money to do some of the things. Those are the people I want to go and, just make them watch, a lot of bad B movies or something or other over and over again on a loop because they deserve it. So I have no problem with that. But it's my theory that I'm not a big fan of sincerity. And people are like, what? It's like, well, it's not like I'm a fan of insincerity. The problem is it's possible to be sincerely wrong. And so when you're sincerely wrong on something, it just... I was driving in the snow this morning. Irony of all ironies, and God sits in the heavens and laughs. You're going to talk gardening, and I'm going to throw snow on them.
Yeah, because it was like 60 yesterday.
And it was wonderful. But, but people do stuff, and they just don't realize the consequences to that. So anything we can do to reduce the negative consequences, I'm all about that. And if I can make a name for myself being cranky all the time, and okay, I'll do that too. So it's kind of all
we love
dovetail.
you. It's a term of endearment.
It kind of all dovetails. So anyway, I didn't realize, since you guys were talking about Wikipedia, which I've rejected Wikipedia for like the last 7 years. So I just maybe it's 5 years. I'm like, I don't like the way they change stuff. So when I do searches, I have to go like 3, 4, 5 pages deep and just find other sources that oftentimes are quoting Wikipedia. So, but at least that. So yeah. So if you want gardening tips, don't go to Wikipedia.
By the way, I do like your solution for the people that are getting paid to do it wrong is force them to watch B movies on a loop. That was very creative.
Well, like I say,
I love that.
40 years ago, Ron, 40 years ago, Ron was we were entering the same doors and sitting behind the same microphones doing the same thing. So I figure before it was talking about news, weather, and sports. Now I'm just talking about plants and trees. So
and we love it. You get your questions in now. We've got them for the hour. John Palmer. He's here to answer your questions that you need. 440-546.
Anything I can do. And I'm sorry.
440-546-2255.
And we can, if I don't know, I'm comfortable saying I don't know, because nature is far too dynamic, far too complex. Anybody that talks with certainty about nature, I know they're a prevaricator. They're not telling the truth, because you can't. It's like trying to nail Jell-O to a tree. It ain't happening. Okay, it's just like you can't control nature.
Nail stuff to trees.
And I love that. Well, theory. But I love that.
So funny.
It's the marvelous and maddening thing about nature.
I love you because you're like, I don't know about this cranky arborist label thing. You just went off on.
Well, that's another thing that Ron knows. It's just like I'm like a wind-up toy. Look out, just wind me up and let me go.
John. It is so endearing. I love it. Okay, what's the first one, Lauren?
We had someone call asking if they'd like to start purveying grapes. When should they put them in the ground?
I'm imagining that realistically, planting time is either spring or fall. So, again, if you go and buy them now and you plant them now, I'm not sure you're going to actually get harvest this year because they're too immature.
Yeah.
So, but generally spring and fall, when it's cool and moist, those are the best times to plant. So sometimes last year our winter, was not much of a winter at all. So literally the ground never froze. So you could have probably planted in January. This year, it's a little soggy to be able to do it, but we've had a longer, colder, more consistently cold winter, so it'll be delayed. But spring and fall are the times to plant pretty much anything. If bulbs, you plant those in the fall so that they come up in the spring. But when you plant something, it's immature, so sometimes it takes a season or two to establish in the ground.
Since you brought up grapes, you taught me last year about my grapevines, and I trimmed it like crazy back to there's the one little bud.
Yep.
Right? To the last bud on the.
There's some
the
sort
vine.
of magic formula like that I'm not necessarily just like
It worked.
Whatever, but yeah. And they grow like mad, and you prune off about 90% of the vines every year.
Yeah, and I thought I destroyed it. My wife was like, "What have you done?" And it came back, and I have to do it again. It's wild.
Yep, and that's
Literally.
people talk about that. I was actually out a couple days ago pruning from some fruit trees since it was in the 50s, and this is when you want to prune fruit trees.
It is.
Right
now?
Right now. Get out there and do it.
How long do we have?
Before they bud, you'll see the buds starting to swell. You want to do the pruning before that happens. So next week we're going to have temperatures in the 50s. Yeah, prune your fruit trees now.
Right now, okay.
Now there's always a caveat. That's where it's about nature. So I can say prune them now. There's always a but. Certain types of cherries. You may want to wait until after harvest in the late summer to prune them. Some of them are more susceptible to disease for others. You have to figure out what kind of cherries you have. Do you have sweet cherries? Do you have sour cherries? And I always forget which one is which. What you do. I think, but you can still do that now if you have to do a little bit of pruning on them. But there's always an exception.
Lauren's glaring at me. I can't dominate this. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly.
I know what she meant. I get excited and I have a lot of questions, but I'll hold mine.
I've been able to keep the deer away for 30 years, but this last year, a large buck found my property and ate everything. I've tried netting, and they pull it away. Is there anything that will keep them away? I can't put up a fence.
There is no silver bullet for deer.
I thought there was
They're
you can like spread around some stinky stuff or something.
For every person that says yes, it works for me, I have another person who says it doesn't work for me. So I've just decided, try
Give up.
Deer or deer.
Try or yeah, people love nature until nature starts behaving like nature. That's really when it's all about that. So no, I mean,
Deer's gotta eat.
especially for young trees. I always put a wire cage, probably 12 inches away from the trunk, so I don't wrap it tight to the trunk because you want to keep them far away from the trunk. But like I say, the garden centers will sell you tons of stuff for deer and say it works. Or you can put out Irish. I remember people saying Irish Spring soap in a little bag and mothballs and all
Tried
sorts
that.
of stuff and the urines and things that you can buy, coyote urine, all the kind of
Oh
stuff.
my gosh.
No, you can buy
Yes.
That's
that.
a lot.
Hot sauce and whatever. For every person that says it's worked for me, as another person said it didn't work for me. So I'm gonna take the coward's way out and say I don't know.
I bet you could use one of those high tensile wire electric fences for like cattle, and you could put it around your.
That might work, but they can jump over it.
Well, they will jump over if it's too far away. But the other thing is their antlers aren't going to conduct electricity. So the cattle stay away because it zaps them on the nose, and their nose is sensitive. Yeah, it's just like a little slap on the wrist. They're okay.
Yeah, well, it hurts. I've been shocked a few times.
You'll not forget when that happens. But yeah, so deer, the electrified thing, I don't think that would actually work. I just put a cage around my trees. But no, the long and short of it is there's just I don't know.
Well, John Palmer, the Cranky Arborist, with us answering your questions. 440-546-2255. Lauren, the Cranky producer, is telling me it's time.
Bro, if you knew how many questions I have right now and you're just gabbing on.
Yeah, come
Move
on,
it
bro.
along.
I'm taking a break.
No, this is the 1 hour a month that I get to monopolize as opposed to you.
Cleveland. Are you looking for candid conversation from a biblical perspective? You found it. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
719, he's one of my favorite people, John Palmer, a.k.a. the Cranky Arborist, whether he likes it or not. Here to answer your questions, 440-546-2255.
I want to move my endless summer hydrangeas to my backyard. What's the best method, and when should I move them?
Again, transplanting is spring and spring and fall, but where are you planting it? You know, you have to make sure you're planting it in the right place, so they're not going to want to be incredibly wet all the time. Depends if it's going to be full sun, they're not going to be happy in full sun. So again, it's right.
So hydrangeas don't like full sun.
It depends on the variety. There's cultivars that maybe will do better in that, but there are a number of varieties of hydrangeas that don't like 8 hours of direct sunlight. They actually do well in shade.
Yeah, she said, which type of hydrangea is best for shady landscape, 4 hours or less of morning sun?
Here he goes. He's going to do it. Hydrangea speech.
Well, yeah, and because there's so many varieties, you have the big leaf variety, the macrophylla, the big pink and blue balls, and then you've got the lace caps, and then you've got the oak leaf, and then you've got the tardiva, and then you've got the PG hydrangea, the tree hydrangea, PG, Paniculata grandiflora.
God bless you.
That's why they call it that. It literally depends, and it also depends on when you're going to prune. Do they set buds on flower buds on new wood, the new growth this year, or do they set them of the previous year? So if you shear back a hydrangea that blooms on old wood, you'll actually shear off the buds for the blooms for this year. You won't kill it, because you can rejuvenate hydrangeas because they will come back. You'll just cut off all the buds. So you have to find out what kind you have. But most hydrangeas will do well in shade. Oak leaf hydrangea is a shade lover. It can get like 45 minutes of sunlight a day, and it's still happy. So and it's a summer bloomer. So it depends on the variety. You have to know what you have. And if you moved into a house and you're not sure, you can do a little thing. So you got the macrophylla, the puffballs. Then you've got the lace cap, which are more like a flat, a thinner layer of flowers on the top. And and now they're making so many hybrids, it's impossible to keep up. But transplanting anything is spring and fall. Cool weather, moist weather, water in the soil, moisture in the soil. That's when you want to do it.
When should I prune my moonrock hydrangea?
I don't know what moonrock is. I don't know what.
Okay, but I love that name.
Yeah, it's Pinky Winky. They got all these cutesy names. Yeah, okay, whatever. They're just trying to sell stuff. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. But it depends on the variety. So you have to figure out what variety it is, and then it'll tell you, does it set buds in the fall, in the late summer for the next year, or does it grow buds on this year's wood? And then you can actually reduce them. So you'll see a cane that'll be coming up a stem, and so you're like, it's too big. So you'll see buds. You can just keep coming back to buds. So you can have it 3 feet tall. You can cut it down to 1 foot tall. Depends on the size. The buds will still come back.
I love how annoyed you get at all the varieties of hydrangea. It drives you crazy.
But it's just because everybody buys them, and they're
beautiful.
They're low maintenance. They're beautiful. Sometimes you've got the rebloomers, so that's where the macrophylla, which bloom on old wood, last year's wood, they're a rebloomer. So that just throws another monkey wrench in everything, because you can actually prune them. So spring and fall will depend on what type you have, and you're not going to kill them even if you do it at a different time. You just may cut off some extra blooms.
How do I prune my rose bush that has not been pruned in years?
Don't touch it.
Leave her alone.
Don't touch it
right now.
Leave it alone.
The reason is I actually posted online yesterday. Like, I know you're tempted. Don't prune your roses just because it's 60 degrees out. Because hard pruning, you have to wait until the forsythia is in full bloom.
I don't know what that means.
April 15th. You can do a snip here and there in the fall if you got long canes and you don't want them to break off in the winter or whatever. No, the American Rose Society recommends you do not prune roses hard until April 15th. And you can cut them down. You can cut them down to 12 inches or more. What you want to do is you want to make sure there's no branches growing in towards the center, because you want them to be open so that air can get through them, and that will allow the leaves to be dried quicker, so you'll actually have moisture is where fungus grows. So if there's air moving through the plant, then it actually will dry the leaves off more quickly, and you'll have less instances of that. So no, do not touch your roses. I know it's like, but it's 60. And then when you prune them in April 15th, if I'm not back before tax day, It's a great way to remember when to prune roses, tax day. Oh. So when you're cranky because you had to pay your taxes, go out and hang out with your roses. People think like, oh, it's starting to bud and I can't cut the buds back. Oh, yes, you can. So don't worry about the new growth that's happened between now and April 15th. Cut them all the way back.
Wow. I did not predict that answer.
When is it okay to cut my butterfly bush back? Is it okay this spring?
Oh, gosh. You know what? I forgot about butterfly bush.
I've never heard of it.
I forgot about them too.
Yeah, it depends on the variety. They can get huge.
Does it attract butterflies, or it looks like a butterfly?
Pollinators, yeah, it attracts pollinators. Now, it's a quote-unquote non-native. Some people are like, oh, we can't plant non-natives. I'm like, well, honeybees that we see on our flowers and plants, don't forget that that's brought here from Europe. That's the European honeybee, so it's non-native too. So a lot of times some things will naturalize. I don't remember whether butterfly bush. I think you can do it in the spring. But I haven't done it in a while. Sorry, I sold my landscaping business 5 years ago. Some synapses are kind of, a little rusty.
That's okay.
Should I cut my dead lemongrass down to the ground?
Is that one of those tall ornamental grasses?
No, lemongrass it's smaller, it's low growing. Some of those low growing things, because they die back in the winter and all that kind of stuff. Some people do, some people don't. I was always torn because when you shear them, I just don't feel like they look very good. So, but again, does the plant care? Not really. Plants and trees don't have eyes, so they don't care what they look like. We care what they look like, but they don't care what they look like.
They're not self-conscious.
So, yeah, no, not at all. So
must be nice.
So I was never the biggest fan of doing that, but if you've been doing it for years, I don't think it's a right or wrong issue.
So the lemongrass, you don't just cut it back, don't cut it back, doesn't matter.
Not really, in my experience, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not the only person. So if you have more different experience than with that, please feel free to utilize yours.
But you're not going to kill it if you cut it back.
And in my experience, no. So you see how I avoided actually committing to that because I don't know, because all the different varieties and cultivars and hybrids that are happening now, who knows?
Okay.
When and how to fertilize arborvitae?
Well,
I learned from last time how to say it.
Yes. Well, my theory is would you go to a doctor and allow the doctor to give you a prescription without him having diagnosed you? Probably not.
No.
Don't do stuff to soils unless you have to figure out whether you need it or not. Because
you don't like fertilizer.
You don't need it in Northeast Ohio in most places. Believe it or not, I've fertilized lawns for my lawn care business. I rarely, if ever, fertilized flower beds because we have great soil. Clay soil. I know people like, oh, I hate that clay soil. It's like clay soil. Clay is actually a great soil. Clay is not a 4-letter word. It's great soil because it holds on to both nutrients and water. So if we have rich clay soil, you probably have plenty of nutrients in it. And the other thing about nutrients, if you once you get to a certain level of nutrients, it's like taking vitamin C. You can take 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C, and you can only use a certain amount of it, and the rest of it you just eliminate. So yes, what's like it in your soil? If the soil is highly compacted, yeah, that can be a problem below ground. But I don't fertilize. I haven't fertilized a tree in 20 some odd years. Because I don't need it. The soil is fine. Look around you. The trees do fine without our help. So I would do a soil test, but I would not. Arborvitaes are, really, they're everywhere and they do fine in most places.
That's those green ones you shape into funny shapes if you want?
No, please don't shear. No, that's, boxwoods you can shape and things. Don't shear arborvitaes. Don't shear junipers. I don't like it to do that. People do it all the time, and most of the time they look lousy because of it. The way evergreens grow, they don't grow like a maple tree or an oak tree. Maple trees and oak trees, they put out a new branch every year, and then you got leaves on them. Evergreens actually lose a percentage of their needles every year, so they lose them usually late fall.
And they go in my gutters.
In the winter. And yeah, welcome to nature.
I hate that.
But their new growth is at the tips. So when you shear off the outside, you're actually shearing off the new growth. The interior needles are being dropped slowly but surely. They're older. They're in the shade inside in the plants. Oftentimes the tree says, "Well, they're not providing what I need, so you're out of here." So the tree dismisses them. But all the evergreens put the new growth. So every time you shear them, you actually take off the new growth, which I'm not a real big fan of. Now maybe you compensate by giving it fertilizer or whatever. But again, fertilizer is not food. Don't ever forget that. No matter what it says on the bag at the garden center, it's not food. Food happens through photosynthesis, leaves and needles. Nutrients, organic matter, minerals, they're the fuel that fuels the process. But food is only created in the leaves and in the needles. So for me, I probably wouldn't fertilize arborvitaes, even though you probably got sold them. Well, you need to. There are. Let's see, how can I be vague and unobtrusive and whatever? But there are plenty of places that will sell you stuff that every time you plant something, you have to put in this tone and that tone and the other tone and something other and this and vitamins and all that kind of stuff. Just know that I haven't done that for 20 years and I don't lose plants and trees. The reason is we have really great soil here in Northeast Ohio, so you can probably save yourself a bunch of money. And the garden centers hate it when I say this, but sorry, it's a lot of fairy dust and unicorn tears and all that kind of stuff that I put in.
Oh, so I need to get unicorn tears for my
yeah,
trees.
that's exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's my
problem.
secret. That's my secret.
It's time for a quick break here. This is WCRF Mornings with Brian. I'm learning yet again from John Palmer, the Cranky Arborist, that all of my presuppositions are wrong. Every time someone asks a question, in my head I go, I bet it's this. And every time I'm wrong.
Not all, just most.
No, like every time, John. Every single time. 440-546-2255. We got more time for your question. .731 WCRF. He's here. He's back. It's springtime. So our friend John Palmer is answering your questions. He's a certified master arborist. And whether he likes it or not, he's known as the Cranky Arborist. I love
Thanks to you guys. Yep.
Actually, you're the one that said it.
Hey, you said it.
It was a throwaway line, and
No,
it's
it
taken.
was not.
It has taken on a life on its own.
It's an accurate label.
Kind of like we're recycling here. You throw it away and we bring it right back.
Well, yeah, it's just my whole life is like that. It's like I keep throwing away boomerangs, and it took me years to figure out that. Oh, why am I getting hit in the back of the head? But they come back.
I'm almost positive Ron's going to have a song for next time John's here about being cranky.
I would expect no less.
Okay, we have a question from one of our friends in Chicago who works at Moody. She said, first of all, she tried to find the Cranky Arborist on Instagram. She said that's a really good name. You should snag it.
No, I'm sorry.
Can't do it.
No,
Cranky.
I'm on X at Cranky Arborist, but I'm
Oh,
not.
okay,
Yeah,
so that's one place.
Yeah, I don't do Instagram. So
Why not?
Because Instagram, Facebook, I don't.
We want pictures of your hydrangeas.
No, they proved me. They proved me right about my cynicism for the past 4 or 5 years. I'm not supporting that system because I want to be able to freely exchange ideas and actually disagree. So if I disagree with a particular narrative, don't get me started. You think I'm cranky now? Get me going down this rabbit hole.
So fun.
So
Find him on X.
I don't. Yeah. So yeah, X is the best thing. And I have my other video channel on Rumble, which is a video channel. It's a platform. So that's where I'm
Find
at.
him there.
X and Rumble.
So her question, well, it's not really a question, but she's going to start a container garden on her porch because she lives in Chicago. There's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ideas you have for her to get started well?
Well, containers, they're very small. So whatever you have in a container, you need to give the roots time to grow. Because plants are like puppies, okay? They look cute, but they get bigger. So you need to give them. You need
So
to give
true.
them. You need to give them room to grow.
Did you make that up? That's great.
Well, I've been using it for years, so I don't know.
Okay.
I probably stole it from somebody, but since it wasn't copyrighted, you lose. So you have to give yourself room. So larger planters would be better. And the other thing about that is the roots are normally in the ground. That's where nature designed them to go. We put them in containers and put them up on things. When they're in containers, they're more exposed to heat The size of containers, whether they're clay pots or whether they're plastic, gets much hotter in the summer and much colder in the winter. Now, if it's just an annual garden, you won't have to deal with winter, but the roots are easily damaged by both excess heat and excess cold. So the more soil surrounding the roots, the better for the plants. So don't
Give them room.
Yeah, don't put out 6 4-inch diameter pots. Put out 2 12-inch diameter pots.
And do you care what kind? Is it clay is best? Plastic doesn't matter?
No, it's an unnatural environment anyway. Just give them, if there's soil between the edge of the container and where the roots grow, that will actually act as a buffer to protect with that. So
and then you've also said dump out the potting soil, right? You hate potting soil.
Well, the problem with, in small things, it's fine. But there's a reason why everybody's mums, they buy them and like 4 days after you hang your mums up, they look terrible. It's because all that light stuff has made it so we can carry things around. So that's for our convenience. The problem is that stuff, there's a difference between soil and then like potting soil and vermiculite and things like that. Soil holds moisture. Potting soil, vermiculite, pine bark mulches, things like that, they only get wet, and there's a difference. So the reason, that's why if you're going to plant your mums after them being in a container and see if they'll survive, I knock most of that stuff off because I want soil
and you
around
put
the roots.
topsoil?
Yeah, just whatever the normal surrounding soil is, or if I have to go buy a bag of topsoil. Yes, you want soil around the roots, not these planting mediums. Now, again, there's a lot of little plants and things that grow over the years. That's fine. But if you don't want to have to water as much, yeah, knock a bunch of that stuff off. Take it out of the container you buy it in, put it in something bigger, and put soil around it. Because the soil will hold moisture and you won't need to water it as much. But that other stuff, it drains. It's why the garden centers have to water like twice a day during the summer. That stuff just flows right through. It helps create this nice, fluffy, fine root system, which is great. But the water just goes right through. And when I put it in the ground, it's the same thing. They'll dry out quicker, even in the ground, in the ground, if they're surrounded by nothing but that planting material.
Okay. When should I trim my evergreen bushes?
Well, refer to previous conversation. It depends on what evergreen is. And I don't...
A coniferous tree.
Yes. Yeah,
I was just reaching into the recesses of my... Right?
Yeah, well, they're conifers. That's correct. Coniferous is actually a word, so he wasn't trying to shine you on there more. So I don't... If there's a branch in the way and you want to prune it off, that's fine. And you can do that any time of the year. Most evergreens, it doesn't really matter. Generally, I try to avoid extremes: extreme cold, extreme heat, extreme drought, and try not to do any pruning at that point because the plants are kind of hunkering down because it's harsh conditions. But again, shearing evergreens, I don't recommend. Now, a boxwood is not an evergreen, but people think it's an evergreen because it has its leaves for most of the years. Those can be sheared and shaped; those are fine. But evergreens, you can prune them if you have an offending branch or two. That's fine. But don't do it. Let nature be nature. Let it grow, and don't take off all the low branches. A lot of people do that. If you have to do it for clearance because somebody planted it too close to something, well, you got to do what you got to do. So I don't have a problem with that. Okay. But the reason is because one, the trees grew those branches for a reason. So why don't you figure out why the tree did that? The other thing is it protects the trunk. The other thing is it actually protects the soil. Because now when you take all those low branches off, now the sun reaches the ground, it actually will dry it out more. You'll actually have more weeds because sunlight will hit the ground. So if you want less weeds, keep those low branches. And branches on trees, evergreens and deciduous trees, they produce and utilize the products of photosynthesis locally. High branches produce food for the plant parts up high that need it. Plant parts that are down low and branches that are down low produce food for plant parts that need it. If you take everything up, you're actually taking the food source farther away. That's why, again, fertilizer, compost, they're not food. They're fuel, not food, photosynthesis. So if you continually limb up your evergreens, you're taking the food farther and farther away from the trunk, the root flare, where it widens at the base, the roots themselves.
Okay. Dear Cranky Arborist, I have a severely overgrown 25-foot-tall champagne cherry tree. How much tree mass can I remove without killing the beautiful tree?
You can do a fair amount of pruning on fruit trees. Now, again, depending on the type of cherry that it is. So, and it might take a couple of seasons. So you can't solve, 10 years problems or neglect. And I don't mean that. I don't mean to be critical, but if you neglect a tree like that. So I would be, you can be serious. You could take 30% of the tree's canopy off. I know some of my fruit trees, I take 50% of it off every year.
Sounds mean.
Well, yeah, it's not when the harvest comes in and you're like, woohoo, an abundance of riches. So the trees will be like, hey, you're cutting off all my branches, so it'll start producing lots of branches. So I would say it depends. Again, is it sweet cherry? Is it sour cherry? And again, since you're going to be doing so much cutting, larger cuts, those wounds are going to take longer to seal over. So that might be one to do before the dormant season, so the wood will harden off over the winter, and that's less likely for pathogens and bacteria, things like that.
Okay. We have 3 very tall hickory trees, and a neighbor has a very tall red oak tree, 100 to 150 feet. How do we know if they're healthy and won't come down on our homes? We see a few dead branches, but most have buds and leaf out.
Well, there's a process that, as arborists and people in nature, we come up with really cool terms that are really complex or whatever. Well, when trees lose branches and they die, we actually call that branch shedding. Ooh, it's really complicated.
Why not Latin? You like Latin. You should have.
It's a dead language, so sorry. I just use it when describing trees. So yes. So if we could talk about the Quercus palustris in your backyard if you want, and all that.
Brian's Quercus palustris.
Yeah, pretty frequently.
Yeah, exactly. And the hickories, it's great, but again, that would involve a risk assessment for that. So I can't do risk assessment.
So you have to have somebody come out and look at it.
Most likely,
but
yes.
It's normal for trees to shed branches.
Well, if you think about it, it's all about sunlight and the access to sunlight. So as a tree gets bigger, it starts to shade itself out. So that's why when you go down to the park system and you go for a walk, there's no live branches for the first 40 or 60 feet. No sunlight's penetrating the canopy because it's too dense and the interior branches start to die. So that's very normal. Yes, looking for buds this time of year is great. Most of the buds have started to swell. The maples, especially, they bud out first. You can see the swelled buds on them. That'll tell you if a branch is alive right now. But again, for me, this is where ISA certified arborists come in. If depending on what your area is, you can go to a website. Since this actually goes more outside of Ohio, I know you have listeners all over the place. You can go to treesaregood.org. And you can go on. You can go on
Another
there.
Creative name
it's
there.
a great source. It's actually put out by the International Society of Arboriculture, but on there it'll say "Find an Arborist."
Treesaregood.org.
Correct. And you just go there, put in your zip code, and a bunch of people will come up. You put in, 44. What's the zip code out here?
4422. No, 44141.
Yes. Yeah. So if you put in 141, you'll find people in this area. Usually my name comes up, but I'm not the only arborist. But get somebody out to do a risk assessment because you want to know about soil, you want to know about hydrology, you want to know about biomechanics, all these things that most people don't know because most people are not nerds and they don't want to study this kind of stuff. But that's what I do, and others like me.
I like that the nerds picked treesaregood.org.
Well, our organization did that, so if people remember that's great.
Right.
That's true. Good point.
The ISA certified arborists will do assessments of trees, so you can have somebody come out to your house.
We got a call. John Palmer, Cranky Arborist.
Okay.
Warren in Doylestown. Warren, what's your question for John Palmer?
How do you get rid of moss in your whole yard?
Do you have trees and lots of shade?
Some of it is shaded different times of the day, but it all gets light some of the day.
It's incredibly hard to get rid of moss. Moss sometimes can be influenced, especially in lawns, by pH. But don't forget that moss can grow on the side of trees as well, and moss can grow on your garage. So that's another one that's very difficult to do, and there's probably plenty of magic formulas and unicorn tears that you can waste your money on out there. But so you would have to do a soil test, especially if it's in your lawn. But it thrives in shade. Now, moss on trees is not harmful. You don't have to take it off. It obviously can cause problems on roofs and things like that. So I can't speak to that. I just know it can be a problem.
But you'd have to clear out trees to make more sunlight to kill the moss, right?
In some way, yeah. And you don't kill the moss. What you do is you just create an environment where the moss isn't going to thrive, which would be a sunny, dry environment. So if you have a watering system, I would maybe reduce excess watering. If it's just water from nature, there's not a whole lot that you can do. So it's a tough. It's kind of like dealing with deer. It's out there. There's no magic formula for that.
Except unicorn tears.
Maybe pH, but don't do anything with putting anything on your lawn unless you do an actual lab-based soil test. Take a soil sample or have somebody do it. Send it to a lab. There's a lab in Columbus that I use to do a soil test, and that will tell you what your pH of your soil is. That can somewhat influence But again, a lot of it's just about sunlight and moisture.
Okay.
So I hope that helps. That non-answer helps.
No, that's an answer. I liked it.
We once had a bush that had small little yellow blooms and it smelled like cloves. We'd like to get another one. What is that?
Smells like cloves.
Small yellow blooms and smells like
So
cloves.
like a yellow flower.
Well, cloves are a little kind of spicy smelling. The only thing that I can think of, but I don't think it has yellow flowers. That would be like a Korean spice, viburnum. Viburnum actually has spicy, but viburnum shrubs are larger. So I'm not sure what that might be.
What's something with cute little yellow flowers?
Yeah, well, forsythia, but they don't smell like cloves.
Maybe they have the smell wrong. Forsythia has little yellow flowers?
Well, yeah, the forsythias are yellow. I'm not sure what that might be, but spicy smells, that oftentimes that's viburnum. And I love viburnum as a shrub. They're an amazing shrub. Problem is everybody shears them into shapes. I'm like, leave them alone. They grow and then they bloom. And then when they're bigger, you get more blooms. And it smells better. So anyway.
Okay.
Very good.
What are some fast-growing hedges for privacy?
Okay, well, fast growing is always that's a double-edged sword, because when it's fast growing, oftentimes they don't do other things. So trees and plants actually allocate resources. So if a plant or a tree is allocating resources to growth, it's not allocating resources to, say, developing a good root system or things like that. So it depends on the space that you have. I'm not the biggest fan of arborvitaes because they don't really have a singular main leader. They have multiple leaders, and when you get heavy wet snow like we're going to get probably in the next month, because it's Cleveland,
you be quiet. Don't talk like
they
that.
they actually can split apart. So that can be problematic. So they're not the fastest growing, but that's everybody wants evergreens because they provide screen 12 months out of the year. But if you think about it, most people aren't outside in the wintertime, so maybe getting something that's not an evergreen or that's deciduous.
Well, what's a good
leaf.
traditional hedge? It may not be fast growing, but you're like, hey, this is my favorite hedge.
Well, one of my favorite hedges is the non-native, and people complain about it because, but privet is a non-native, but it's a great hedge, and if you don't shear it all the time, it actually gets wonderful blooms. I have golden privets outside my house, and I love it for the 10 days, and so do the pollinators when it blooms, because it has this beautiful fragrance. It smells like perfume when you're walking by. But it's non-native, and so planting it out here in where we are here, Brexel, Broadview Heights, along the metro parks, probably not a good idea. Birds eat the seeds, and then they fly into the woods, and they poop the seeds out, and then it starts to take over as an invasive in native.
Favorite native hedge? Boom. You don't know?
I'm not sure. But the other thing is, if you have a lot of space, there's something called a green giant arborvitae, appropriately named because it will get 30 feet tall, but it has one main leader on that, so it's less susceptible to be splitting when you get heavy snows or ice or things like that. So there's not a lot out there, frankly. So, people, I'm not a big fan of, I won't say that. Dwarf Alberta spruce is another one, but it's slow growing, but it's an evergreen. It's a mutation of white spruce. It's for those of you that know comic books, it's like the X shrub. It's a mutant, but it's another one. But there's not a lot out there. Hemlock. Yeah, sorry.
That one flew right over my head.
Yeah, I forget.
Hemlock. What are you trying to poison me? I know that.
I didn't say eat it. I said plant it. But hemlock is a great native, and it's an evergreen. But in the nursery, and here's the little secret.
At church
that they don't
or
tell
outside? Sorry, nursery plants. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. He's like this all the time, right?
Correct.
But in the nursery, they're sheared and they're grown in such a way that hemlocks look really dense. But that's not how they grow in nature. So over time, as they get bigger, they start to thin out. And hemlock are a very thin evergreen once they start to mature. So after 5 years or 10 years, it's not going to look like at the nursery. It's going to have a third of the canopy density that you get at the nursery. So there's not a really there's not a good original plan for this. It's just what everybody else does. So arborvitaes or green giant, if you have them, don't plant them too close. And the problem is people plant them really close together, and then they grow into one another. And then as plants grow into one another, now no sunlight is reaching in, and so the interior needles start to die. And if one of them dies, now you've got a hole here where the one's missing, and now it's dead along the side. And evergreens don't come back; they don't resprout like an oak or an elm. So it's complicated. It really is. So there's not an easy answer to that one either.
All right, we got a time for a little break here, and then more time for your questions. We probably won't get to all of them, but we'll try as best we can. John Palmer with us at Cranky Arborist on X. And you say we call you Cranky Arborist.
Well, I'm leaning into it, okay? You started it, so I'm leaning into it. So
He's leaning into it, and we'll get to your questions. 440-546-22.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
He's back. John Palmer, the Cranky Arborist, has been with us all hour. We got a little bit more time here for your questions. 440-546-2255. And then we have his spring tips we're going to get to before we go as well.
yeah, just a couple things.
I have a poplar hybrid that is growing great, so it seems. Last fall, I noticed roots atop the soil around the trunk. Is that a concern? When should I prune it, or how should I?
Depends on the type of poplar. Again, it's another hybrid or whatever. If you go into nature and look at trees, you've got the roots are above ground. So yes, roots above ground are perfectly normal for all trees. People think like, we have to cover them. They need a blankie. No, nature has been growing trees for a lot longer than we've been around. I think people look at it and say, "Oh, the roots are cold." No, where the root flare, where it widens and starts, they're all above. In fact, that's how nature. So if you plant a tree and you plant those roots 2, 3, 4 inches below ground and cover it with soil, you're actually doing a bad thing to the tree. So you don't want to do that. So if there's roots that are growing, say, alongside the trunk, like if they're touching the trunk, those are called circling or stem girdling roots or girdling roots. Those should be pruned out because over time, the trunk will get bigger, the root will get bigger, and now they actually are coming in contact with one another and actually can cause decline in trees. So above ground roots, normal. That's how trees grow.
Okay. Yes, Derek and Menor. Let's go to Derek and Menor. What's your question for John Palmer?
Yeah, I had some shrubs, and I trimmed them a couple years ago. Trimmed the tops, and now the needles are turning brown, and it seems to start where I trimmed it, and it seems to be getting worse. And I'm wondering if there's anything I can do to save it, or if it's just going to die.
Well, if it's an evergreen and it has a main leader, that's I don't have enough time to get into tree biology, but it's called the apical meristem. It's the primary growing point. You do not top shrubs and trees. That's verboten in arboriculture, because wherever you cut in nature, you stimulate growth below the cut. So when you cut the top off, a few years from now, you're going to have 2 or 3 tops because you cause a traumatic response in the trees. So yes, could you have injured the tree when you took off the main leader? That's certainly a possibility with that. but I don't know. I can't diagnose because I don't know what type it is. That's the problem with that. So yes, don't top your evergreens. If you want to slow down the growth of it, topping is the worst thing for it because it injures, and then you're just going to get regrowth anyway. So in 5 years you will have lost whatever value you thought you got out of it.
Okay. All right, Derek.
I
Sorry.
hope that helps. I mean, do some more checking on that or whatever. But again, evergreens lose 20-25% of their needles every year. The interior needles, if the new growth that comes out at the tips of the branches is green and healthy, that's good. Even if you're losing interior needles.
Okay.
How about one more and then tips?
Okay.
Should I prune a clematis? You go ahead.
Clematis.
Clematis. Not sure the kind, but large purple blooms.
Yep.
Way back or leave it year to year? Does it climb on old growth or new?
You can do both. I know people that cut them all the way back because they don't know how bedraggled they look. I know people that don't touch them. So I think it just depends on aesthetics. Not really. I've had clients. I'm like, boy, this thing's really overgrown. Like, no, I like it. Okay. Now, could you maybe stimulate new growth and more blooms if you did prune it? That's a possibility. But is it going to overall harm it? No, it's not.
Okay.
So. Okay.
John's
John,
tips.
Yeah.
Well,
for everyone.
Just a couple of things here. Again, don't prune roses till April 15th. Just don't do it. And then when you prune back, you're okay. It's okay to cut off buds and leaves that have actually come out. So you don't want to do that. The American Rose Society just does not recommend that. Wait till the forsythia is in full bloom because the canes you'll stimulate growth and then we'll get a frost or freeze that can damage the canes. So don't do that. Spirea. This is a great time of year. If you have spirea in your yard, you can rejuvenate spirea by cutting them down 6, 8, 10 inches. Right now. Yeah, that's perfect time. Only exception, there's always an exception, something called bridal veil spirea, because that actually, as it grows, it kind of grows in a weeping habit, and that's why I call it bridal veil. You don't want to shear those, but most spirea, and a lot of people have them in yards, they start to look bedraggled over the years, so you prune them now on that. Cleaning up, doing spring cleanup in the beds, I'd probably wait a couple more weeks if you can stand it. Now, if you have piles of leaves in your lawn, please go ahead and do that because oftentimes the leaves will just pile on and then kill the lawn, and then you have to redo that. Don't plant grass seed yet. Please don't do that.
Don't plant grass seed yet.
No, because it'll come up. It'll come up now if we have good weather, and then we'll get a frost or a freeze or snow, and you'll lose half.
Well, when do we do it then?
Then wait till I never do it until probably late April.
Oh wow,
grass seed. And don't put down your pre-emergent herbicide, which is the crabgrass preventer, and reseed at the same time because pre-emergence, they keep seeds from germinating, including grass seed. So if you're going to reseed, don't put down a fertilizer that has a crabgrass preventer or a pre-emergent herbicide because you have to wait a certain amount of time until the chemical breaks down in the soil before you can reseed.
Okay.
So I think those are just a couple things. If you have time, we got a couple more questions.
We have plenty.
John, yeah, we have lots.
Okay, that's a rose. Okay. I have a very tall arborvitae tree. Can I cut some so it doesn't fall over in the winter from the snow?
Again, I wouldn't top it because you're just going to stimulate growth.
Because it's got that single big thick branch that is the
you got the
doohickey thing.
Yeah, the best thing to do, frankly, is if you just have a broom or a pole or something or other, and just bump the tree around. Just just go out in the snow and knock the snow off it, rather than prune, because you can prune it, but I prefer to just leave nature alone whenever possible. So.
Do redwoods do well in our area?
Dawn redwood, they can, depending on the space. But I'm serious, you have to have so much space for those things. They're monstrous. Literally, they can get 120 feet across at the base.
My goodness.
So, you can't plant that in your normal average Northeast Ohio lawn. And dawn redwoods are what's called you talked about conifers, Brian.
Yes, I did.
They're a deciduous conifer, which means they lose their needles every year. So the bigger they get, the more needles they drop, and it can be very messy. It's very beautiful in the fall. But yes, can they survive in this area? Yes, they can, but they're monstrous. So be careful where you plant them.
Lauren, you're not going to ask your question?
I'll ask it later.
Oh, okay.
We have a lot of standing water in our yard. Would planting a willow tree or cattails help with that problem?
Maybe.
I thought you're supposed to plant the willow tree in the wet area.
It has to do with hydrology and how water is moving through the soil, especially new developments, because new developments will dig out the house and then they'll take all that clay and then they drive over it with the bulldozers and such to level it. And then what they've created is this really dense, compact layer, and water wants to follow gravity, wants to go down into the soil. That's how it's been designed by their creator to go down. But when we make this impenetrable layer, now we cause drainage problems. So you have to penetrate that layer. So a lot of times the environment is not good. So in theory, yes, or there are appropriately named trees. So you have a swamp white oak. I'm open to oaks because oaks are a native species and they're important, and
they're thirsty.
And they do that too. And we also cut all of them down because we like them for floors and shelves and such, which is we need more of them. River birch.
Oh,
I
see.
There's a hint. Bald cypress is another one. They actually live in
that doesn't
swamps.
Work.
Bald cypress. Yeah, sorry, don't. Ron and I are very sensitive to bald cypress, but they grow in swamps in Louisiana, so they do well here. So yes, you can plant water, but I would try to figure out what's actually happening in the yard that causes poor drainage like that, and it could be what's called a perched water table.
And that's where an arborist might be helpful.
Possibly, yes. But one that actually understands hydrology, which is why when I teach arborists, I'm like, we need to know and understand hydrology better, how water moves through soils.
So you're feeling a bit cranky that some arborists don't know enough about hydrology?
No, not cranky at all. They actually pay me to teach them, so I'm fine if they don't. I'm fine for all the people who don't know stuff. I'm like, hey, come on, I got to put food on the table just like everybody else.
Should we do one more,
Sure.
Lauren?
I have some relentless green vining, bright leafy weed trying to overtake my yard. I think it's called Charlie something. How do I stop it?
Creeping Charlie is it's probably Creeping Charlie, and it's just
what do you do with that Creeping Charlie?
There's not much you can do. You actually have to use an herbicide on it, and you probably have to do it every year for multiple years to be able to knock it back. It's like dandelions. They're never really going away, and so it's whatever. There's all sorts of stuff in nature, and weeds are just a part of it. So thank Adam, and just do your best with it. So it's that's why landscaping companies are in business, is because every year you got to come back and treat the Creeping Charlie.
Now, you are probably the most famous arborist in America.
Yeah,
at this
probably.
Point. You did a Google search for Cranky Arborist, and it was like a whole page full of you.
But it was just you guys. So
I'll take it.
That's fine. Well, I'm not the most famous. I'm not the.
He's also the humblest.
I have the biggest mouth. I have the biggest mouth of any arborist on the planet. But
well, if you miss some of his advice, our YouTube channel is a great place to go. Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio on YouTube. You can go back and watch it, and you could also go to Trees Are Good.
Treesaregood.org if you want a resource for trees, and that's actually good. And find an arborist in your area that might come out if you have questions on that.
Or Cranky Arborist?
At Cranky Arborist on X, or Nose to Nose with Nature on Rumble is another where I post videos of that. So it's just trying to resource, or if somebody wants to shoot me an email, crankyarborist@protonmail.com. I did that just for you guys. But just remember, this is the venue where the advice is free. All I can say is that, because Papa's got to eat.
As opposed to electron mail. Cranky Arborist.
Where did you find proton mail?
They're actually out of Switzerland. They're a very encrypted email service.
Can't let the trade secrets about the trees get out.
No, you can't.
No,
where you keep the money.
No. It's I don't care about the tree info. It's my info. That's why I got an encrypted email server. Come on, as much as I'm online, I got to protect myself.
I mean, I don't have to ask Lauren. We're going to have you back. I know we are.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're very kind. I appreciate it. Sorry that we talk too much and we don't get to enough questions.
We got to most of them.
Literally, it's just there's too much information out there, and most people that work in the professional industries know very little about them. It's remarkable to me. After 20, I owned a landscaping business for 20 years, and the dearth of information out there, and the glut of misinformation, since that's a term that's been used a lot, is out there. So,
which is why, appropriately, you're the Cranky Arborist, because those people need to stop their lies.
Well, they're sincere.
It's an abomination.
They're sincere. They're just sincerely wrong. That's all.
John, we love you.
In my possibly not so humble opinion.
Go check out you can replay the whole thing on YouTube. We got to as many as we could. We'll have him back again soon. For now, though, it's time for Ron's News.
ML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is being ordered to reinstate over 5,000 fired employees. It's 8:03. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Federal officials made the announcement yesterday saying that the firings may have been unlawful and the workers should be reinstated for at least the next 45 days. The ruling only applies to the probationary employees fired from the USDA and no other agencies. Some drugs are off the street and 2 suspects are facing charges following a trafficking bust in Akron this week. Officers from the Akron Police Department's Anti-Violence Bureau carried out the raid at a home in the 500 block of Prentice Avenue on Tuesday. Officials say fentanyl, methamphetamine, and nearly $3,000 worth in cash were found. And President Trump is calling for the repeal of the measure that includes support for Akron's Sustainable Polymers Tech Hub. Passed in 2022, the CHIPS and Science Act promises billions of dollars to support semiconductor manufacturing and other emerging tech projects within the U.S., and that includes $51 million in investments of the Polymers Tech Hub. In sports, the Cavaliers beat the Heat 112-107. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Patchy blowing snow mainly this morning, accumulation of around an inch. It's going to be breezy today, much cooler with our highs only reaching into the mid-30s. And at last check, we did have cloudy skies and light snow in Cleveland, 28 degrees. Akron and Canton, light snow, 27. In Worcester, it's cloudy and 28.
It's time for your moron moment.
We celebrate America's #1 cookie each year on March 6th with National Oreo Day. At Mornings with Brian, obviously, we love a good cookie. And with their crisp chocolate cookies and creamy filling, Oreos have captured our hearts and our stomachs. The Oreo was first introduced back in 1912, and it has been the best-selling cookie in America ever since. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:06 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ronnie.
809 WCRF Mornings with Brian, and it's Thursday. Usually at this time, David Safransky, president and founder of Edgewater Investment Group, is here to answer your financial questions. Now, he's not here today. One of the rare occasions he's not
Sad.
here. Because if you don't know this about Dave, he's got a deep heart for missions. And for years now, he's been doing trips where he goes further and further on a boat into the Amazon. And when I say further, I mean they sleep on the boat and they go for like over 24 hours up the Amazon River to go and help dig wells for and minister to tribal groups in there. And it's one of his favorite things to do. It just takes forever and literally a day to get there.
Yeah, if you think about it, you have to like travel from here. There's probably a stop here. You stop at like, I don't know, Atlanta or like somewhere in Texas or something, and then keep going.
And then they take a ferry somewhere, and then they go to the boat, and then they go to da-da-da-da-da-da. And so he can't be with us today because he's en route.
Yes.
So we feel sad about that. But nonetheless, what we decided to do for you, and if you just right now, is pull together and just get our own little financial tips.
He probably hates all of them.
No way.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he does.
From years of us listening to Dave, we know that everything goes back to a budget. He will say to anybody,
Well, yeah.
I got $1 million. I go, okay, you got $1 million? Do you have a budget?
Right.
It's all about the budget. And
Correct.
so we got to go down to the ground level here, and we're going to share some of our own budget hacks and our own financial tips for you based on Years with Dave. Lauren, I know you're ready. I could hear the paper moving. Hit it. Tell us what to do.
Okay. Well, I use the Every Dollar app. There's a paid version and a free version.
Every Dollar app.
Yeah, it's the Dave Ramsey Solutions app. But there's a paid version. You get a bunch more stuff. I don't know what that stuff is because I don't use it. I use the free version.
What does
and
this
it's enough
do?
for us. Well, you put in, like, here's all of my income, various different, like, oh, my husband's income, mine. Maybe you have, like, a little side biz. So you put it all into, like, the fund. And then you disperse out into different categories, how much you have allotted for that month for that thing. And then say you have gas as one of your like budget lines. You can go into gas and say how much you've spent from that. And just like keep a log. So like yesterday I got gas for this much, and it will reduce it from the overall category.
You can kind of keep track of each category, but it requires you to keep up with the input part of it.
Yes, exactly.
And I bet you're good at that.
Oh, I don't do our budget.
Oh, you don't even do that part?
No, I don't touch that thing.
You're like, Eddie, put this receipt in for me.
No, when we first got married, I oversaw 6 budget cost centers at Moody. And I said, that's enough for me. You can do our personal one. And he has ever since, and he's very good at it. And also, if I were to oversee our budget, we wouldn't spend any money because I just get like, financially nervous about everything.
Yeah.
So we'd have no fun. We'd have nothing. We couldn't do anything. No one's getting close.
So Eddie likes the app. He uses it and he likes it.
Yes.
So how does he know how much you spend on gas? He's just going through the
Yeah, he goes through our
bank
bank
app.
transactions. Yeah, he probably does it every other day. Maybe he does it every day. I don't know.
So, but you can't link your bank app to the.
Maybe you can. I'm not sure. We don't do that though.
Do you have any budgeting hacks that have failed for you? Like stuff you're like, we tried that, it doesn't work.
Not really. We've just recently started. We got a credit card that does like really good points. You get points back for like travel and stuff like that. And we've started, as a lot of people do suggest, just for the whole month you put all your expenses on there and then pay it off at the end of the month. Yeah. So that we've got a lot of points and we've only had it for a couple of months. So that next April we can use it for our 10-year anniversary and like our hotels are paid for.
Good move. We got one of those for a Disney trip years ago.
Yeah, they have like sign-on bonuses where you get so many points if you use this much. And if you just use it for your normal expenses.
Yeah, you funnel them through there
quick.
And you pay it off. Yeah, we had it for about 3 years in advance of a Disney trip because that's how long you have to save to go to Disney World.
Seriously.
We had a points, and all of our admission was paid for from points.
Yeah, and you're not like spending on your credit card. It's your normal stuff.
That's right.
Right.
But you get the points back, which is a great benefit.
And then we did one recently where, so the one we have now you can use points for like hotel, airfare, things like that. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. When I took my daughter to Moody to go visit campus, we had 2 nights paid for by points.
Yeah, it's so nice.
It's amazing. Ron Eastwood, what's the Eastwood secret to budgeting?
Well, when I was young and single, I didn't get married till I was 30. So I had a number of years where it was just your paycheck goes in the bank account and it grows because you just didn't spend all that much money. Then at 30, I got married, and she was already widowed with 2 children. So boom, there we go. There's a lot more expenses.
Time to budget.
Yeah. So I would say get in the habit early on of budgeting, even if you don't think you need it, because understanding it is going to help you as you transition through the various phases of life. Hopefully yours will be more steady, like marriage, then the first child, then the second child, and not all at once. What Lauren was talking about, the points on the credit card, I do a similar, I've got a gas card that I get points on everything. I get 5 cents off per gallon of gas that I use that card for. And I get points, racked up, whether I'm buying the gas or, at Aldi's or Bueller's or whatever.
So you don't have to use it just for gas.
Right.
It's just like a regular card. Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So it's helpful. And then every once in a while, I just cash out the points for free gas.
Wow, that's nice.
Well played, Ron Eastwood.
I did something right.
Now, for us, years ago when Sarah and I got married, we've been married for almost 22 years, we had about 6 months into our marriage in the home, and I was like, we got to come up with a budget here. So I took all the bills, and I used an Excel spreadsheet back, early Excel, and I figured out I would input
98.
all of these, yeah, probably, and had it come up with an average, because some bills are consistent in their fees, like your garbage or whatever. And
But then you get into like energy or
and we figured out averages, and we made a budget out of averages. And that basic framework of a spreadsheet, then eventually Sarah's like, move over, loser.
Yeah, I'm getting in the Excel here.
Yeah, because she's excellent at it. She's better with money than me. She's smarter than me, all those things. So she took over. She tried the envelope system for us for a while.
Where you take all the cash out and put it in the envelopes.
Yeah, and you label them like groceries, gas.
And that's how much you have for groceries that month is whatever's in the envelope.
Yeah, and that just didn't work for a lot of reasons for us. One of them was it's just a hassle to go get cash. It's annoying. It's annoying.
And I feel like you'd have to
up.
do it multiple times because a lot of ATMs are not going to give you that much money at once.
And then, of course, when you're poor and you run out, it just
You're
gets
we
depressing.
actually do have to eat also.
Yeah, right. And so we stopped that. But what's worked for us recently, we actually opened 2 checking accounts. One of them we call our bills account, and one of them we call our grocery account. Now, what that means in practice is not quite that. The bills account literally is where we have all of our checks deposited and where we have all of our bills automatically withdrawn. And we really don't do anything with that account.
Yeah.
It just sits there. And there's an automatic transfer from that account set up into our grocery checking account, which is where we buy our groceries, our toiletries, and gas. And that's the card we use for that. And we've tried to figure out how much we can spend on those things and keep track of it. But we have kids, and so they're always like, I need $500 by Friday, Dad. It sounds like they're threatening me with something, but it's like honestly what happens. And that's worked pretty well for us, honestly.
I just thought of another one.
Yeah.
We made another checking account that we have an automatic transfer into each month. And it's just a little bit every month that goes towards Christmas. Because I spent, 7 years panicking at Christmas time. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to spend all this money all of a sudden?
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, and so we just put a little bit. And then once Christmas comes around, whatever's in that Christmas account is what we have to spend. And that's on gifts, that's on wrapping paper, that's on, I need new lights, or I need a new tree.
No,
and we have to be within that budget.
Growing up, it was always have a checking and a savings, checking and a savings. Of course, we have a savings account as well, but there's no limit on the number of checking accounts you can have. And now with online banking, it's so easy to move money around that for some people, instead of envelopes, what you have is checking accounts. And that's a great idea because the auto transfers, it does it without even thinking about it. It moves it into this account where you're going to strategically save and earmark. It's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah.
Any other tips we have?
Years ago, banks used to do what they called a Christmas club, which is just what Lauren described.
I want one.
I want a Christmas club.
Fruit spray.
I
want fruit spray.
You decide how much you want. I'm going to put $5 a month in or $10. And at the end of the year, when you're ready to cash out, the bank will give you the one extra payment as the interest on that.
Well, that sounds fun.
I'm trying to join a Christmas club.
They also used to give you gifts when you opened up accounts. Like they'd have like a pile of say toasters and like Tupperware. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was great. I don't know why they stopped.
Because everyone needs one now, so it's like, obviously you're going to open an account.
Yeah, right. There you go.
I'm not giving you gifts.
Well, hope that helps you a little bit. But again, if Dave were here, he'd say the foundation of any good investing,
we were right.
saving, or whatever is budgeting. You've got to have a budget. All right, it's 8:19. Time for a quick break. Still to come yet this morning, there's a strange thing happening with non-disclosure agreements.
Oh.
I know it sounds really boring, but it's actually super important, and it's something for Christians to really be aware of. We'll get to that, plus some talk about share in just 826 WCRF. Glad to have you with us today. It's been a fun morning. I love me some Cranky Arborist. That guy. Yeah. What a great guy, John Palmer. And that plus other programming in this radio station is brought to you. It's like we're PBS. Brought to you by you.
Yes.
Listeners like you.
The You
Exactly.
Foundation. As in you, because we're listener supported, have been since 1958. It's people just like you who give at various amounts. Some people give $5. Some people give $10 a month or $100 a month. And other people give large amounts throughout the year. And it takes all of you combined together to make this thing happen.
Right.
And we've been so excited to see as our share campaign, our spring share campaign, it's our big one. Do a couple a year, but this is the big one. It's coming up next week. And we are seeing some huge response here, Lauren. It's been exciting.
Oh, yeah, we've got some shout-outs to Linda and Erie and Cheryl and Akron, Nathan in Broadview Heights, and Donald in Grafton, Melissa in Cleveland, Joel in Kent, Marguerite in Cleveland, Richard in Grafton, Nancy in Jefferson, Christopher in Kent, Brenda in Shaker Heights, Kelly in Ritten. Kelly's a first-time giver, so she's going to get a nice mug.
Yeah, and that's one of the fun... Wasn't that one of your grandkids?
Yeah, that's Theo. He's 9 now.
So I can't believe you got that on recording. It's incredible. Okay, so there are special gifts for first-time donors, like Kelly, you said?
Yes, like Kelly.
So, Lauren, will you describe that special gift that's only available through tomorrow?
Yeah, I was just looking around here for it because I left it here yesterday saying to myself, I'm going to use this tomorrow. And someone, Michael.
I think it's in the sink. I'll go grab it.
In the sink. I left it right here and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to show it. It's a mug, a thermal mug. It kind of, if you're listening, it sounds like this. Okay, it's like one of those.
That's exactly right.
And it says the gospel changes everything on one side. And on the other side, it says Moody Radio, a cute little handle, one of those lids that has you can move the mouthpiece to be open or closed. Ron, thank you, Vanna White, so much. Here it is for the live stream. The gospel changes everything.
Ron just ran to the kitchen
He really
and ran
did.
back. Literally ran. Way to go, Ron.
Yay. So you're going to get, but that's only until tomorrow.
For first-time donors.
Givers through just tomorrow. So today and tomorrow, that's all the time you've got to get this mug. The gospel changes everything. And like we said yesterday, it's a great way to support Moody Radio when you're out and about. If you're not one to, want to share openly, like, hey, excuse me, do you know Moody Radio? Your mug will do it for you.
Or just drink and slurp loudly and slowly.
Right, exactly. Or if you're a little bit nervous to share the gospel, which a lot of us are, please stop. You can you just change around to the other side. And it says the gospel changes everything. And someone's going to say, what do you mean?
Right.
Exactly. Witnessing tool.
Yes.
It's like a gospel track, but a cup.
Exactly.
See?
So first-time givers get that today and tomorrow.
Now, you might think, I want something. Okay, fine. Anyone who gives the whole campaign during Share at any amount is going to get a book. I have right here in my hot little hands. If you're watching online, it's called Killing Sin by Carl Clausen. Conquer the one thing that's defeating you. It helps you think of that one sin that just keeps hassling you. Maybe you just have a hard time not gossiping, or maybe you are struggling with addiction, or whatever it might be. His book will help you zero in on that and figure out how to really kill it in your life,
Wow.
So that's for gifts of any amount throughout the whole campaign.
Yep.
So there's something for everybody. Now, the key is you have to actually give. Now, we're doing this little, calling it the Whittle Baby Show, little tiny Whittle Baby Show.
You're calling it that.
Lauren really enjoys that, so that's why I say it. It's her favorite. It's a Whittle Baby Share right now, because we're officially starting on Tuesday. So you could help us. You just call 800-600-9624, 800-600-9624. Someone's ready to answer your call. Or if you're hip and happening like Lauren and you've got your phone and you're TikToking, you can text the word share to 800-600-9624, and we'll send you back a link to go give online. Text share to 800-600-9624. You can even go to moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
And we also need monthly donors. And in monthly donors, you could do a smaller gift, but it's, spread out over a longer period of time. Maybe you're not able to do a larger gift right now, but over time you could. And monthly donors get like even way more stuff than just the book and the mug.
Tons of stuff. And it's like a bill automatically withdrawn from your account. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah. So you get a discount at Moody Publishers. You get all these videos from Dr. Rydelnik in Israel, teaching from biblical historical sites.
Which I think is great. So many people, would love to go to Israel aside from the go part. If you're an introvert, you're like, that would be so cool, except I don't want to go. You could be there by way of video and listen to Dr. Rydelnik explain what's going on here at the amphitheater or wherever he might happen to be.
Well, there it is. Again, moodyradio.org/Cleveland or 800-600-9624. All right. You know what? Lauren has been slaving away behind the scenes, courtesy of our friends at Yada Yada Coffee in Cuyahoga Falls.
Yes.
We have the Mornings with Brian blend. Listen. Inside of this bag is exactly how much, Lauren?
A half a pound.
Half a pound of coffee beans.
I don't want to commit to a whole pound because what if they don't like it? So I get nervous.
Oh, you can see through the bag. Look at.
If you're on our live stream, you can see the beans.
And it's
we
a
all
special
chose
blend.
it together. We're like collectively, this was our favorite blend. We tried it on air like 3 or 4 different ones, and collectively it was our favorite.
And our friends at Yada Yada Coffee, the owner there, Tommy.
Yep.
Tommy's a believer.
He
Yes,
is.
he is.
They just celebrated their 3-year anniversary. I saw.
And they make this for us. You can only get this blend from Yada Yada Coffee and from us.
Yep.
And Lauren slaved yesterday so that somebody could have this.
I just put it in bags. I measured it and put it in bags.
I'm trying to puff you up here.
Oh, well, thank you.
You worked really hard, and it was impressive. There was a scale involved.
Yeah, I got to measure it out.
Like you will be having a half. It's not going to be disputed whether it's half a pound.
Yeah.
If anything, it's a little more.
Yeah, it's probably like a half pound and like 5/8 or something.
So let's give away 2 bags of this.
Okay.
To the first 2 people to text coffee to 440-546-2255. Text the word coffee to 440-546-2255. The first 2 people to get to their phone and text that in will each get a half pound
Perfect.
of Mornings with Brian blend coffee, courtesy of Yada Yada Coffee in Cuyahoga Falls. It's 8:33. We'll be back in just a few minutes to talk fancy law stuff that actually has deep meaning and importance for Christian people. Certain types of NDAs are BAD, according to me.
How long did it take you to do that?
It's a couple minutes. I really had to kind of think through a few variations. We're going to circle back to that in just a moment because, first of all, I want to remind you, Share, like I said, is coming up next week. So get your gift in, 800-600-9624. And we did have a very special request here. It's not Follow-Up Friday, but somebody would like a Ron Eastwood thumb update.
Oh,
You're still giving me a thumbs up unintentionally.
Yes, I am.
Because you tore a tendon with a table saw on your thumb over New Year's.
Yes. New Year's Day morning at 10 a.m. Thump. And that was it. I did just bump the side of the table saw blade from the right side with my thumb, and it cut in and it tore the tendon. So on January 7th, I got surgery at the Crystal Clinic with the feminine Dr. Manley because I don't want anyone to think less of her for her name. But she reattached my tendon, and I've got a pin through the joint to keep it from flexing, and then the hard plastic cast on the outside, so I can't bend the thumb.
How you doing?
Maybe a month left before I can get the pin out.
Oh.
And then I won't have to wear the cast all the time. I can start to bend it a little bit. And I can't go back to UPS until that's accomplished because you can imagine we get packages of all kinds. You know?
And he works overnights, by the way, at UPS,
Yes.
throwing boxes around.
So,
Gently.
yes. But we'll get tires. We'll get tires with rims in them. We'll get bicycle frames.
So strong.
There's a lot of odds and ends that come through in addition to every shape and size of cardboard box. So I have to be able to grab those things, and without an opposable thumb to squeeze in on it, I'm kind of stuck. I tried one day. I went in and tried to lift a box, and it would slide off the hard plastic, and it's a danger if I'm going to lift a 75 or a 70-pound box up over my head to put it on a belt, and I can't close it with my thumb, but it slides.
Yeah.
It could come back on me or a coworker.
So how long till you're 100%?
I would think a month or month and a half.
Wow. Okay, Ron.
I'm duking it out between the doctor and their records agency and the insurance agency and everybody to say, give me a date so that I can get my short-term disability payments up until that time.
Yeah, well, # pray for Ron's thumb.
Please do.
Okay, so some types of NDAs are BAD. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I pretend to be one on the radio pretty regularly. I have a gavel.
Yes.
And I have a friend, Attorney Nathan Zine Esquire, who's an attorney, but non-disclosure agreements are NDAs. Now, I didn't know this, but I like history. Mm-hmm. I kind of assumed NDAs are one of those things that go back to, powdered wigs and like old-timey things. But no, they actually...
Pretty new?
Yeah. They appear to have first been used in the 1940s.
Oh.
Wow.
In maritime law. I love our matey.
The pirates do need it.
Yeah, they don't like laws.
Yeah.
Right.
So they
don't want anyone telling where they buried their treasure. So you got to sign an NDA if you're going to do that.
But it wasn't until the 1980s that it became commonplace in the tech industry. Now, for those who don't know, the original purpose of a non-disclosure agreement was to protect trade secrets.
Okay.
So my best comparison, my favorite comparison would be, let's just say you're working for Colonel Sanders at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
And he's got his 11 herbs and spices.
I believe it is 11.
And he tells you what they are.
So he tells you how many there are, but he won't tell you what they are.
Yeah, and because you're the guy making the spice and you're cooking the chicken. Mm-hmm. And you're like, hey, you Colonel, I'm out of here. I'm starting my own chicken joint with your recipe. And he'll say, sorry, son, you signed an NDA. You can't do that. Non-disclosure. Like, it protects the secret recipe.
Right.
And so tech companies protected their secrets, and they even would use these for, like, client lists. Like, if you're in sales, you can't steal a client list and go start your own company. This is what non-disclosure agreements are designed to protect. But they've been a little creepy. As in, oh, non-disclosure, I'm
Now
just
we're
going to
just gonna
continue doing
Protect
this.
everything.
Protect everything. And so...
Not everything's a trade secret.
Correct. In fact, they've been used, I think, for nefarious purposes. And they've become so commonplace that they've started to be used, and I kid you not, to stop people from talking about the abuse they've suffered. So there'll be organizations, Christian organizations, that will be caught abusing people. And they'll say, listen, if you signed this non-disclosure agreement so nobody will ever find out what we did to you or this person did to you, we'll give you this pile of cash. And so oftentimes the victim is somebody who needs money for whatever reason, and they have to choose. If I take this gob of money, I'll get the finances I need, but I won't ever be able to speak ever about what happened to me. And in those cases, according to one source, 95% of those who report signing an NDA experience a negative impact on their mental health.
Well, yeah, they've already been so beat down by whatever form of abuse that they've been under, and now they're being told they can't talk about it?
Yeah. And Christianity Today has a story we're going to cover here in just a moment, but NDAs, they say, are commonly used by churches and Christian ministries, both in standard employment contracts and in legal settlements. I got a problem.
Yeah.
BAD is where the bad comes in. Lauren hates that. But I'm telling you, why in the world would a church or Christian ministry need anyone to ever sign a non-disclosure? What trade secret do you have? The gospel?
Jesus.
Right. It gives the impression that you are protecting yourself in advance, knowing you're going to do something so corrupt that it's going to be, heinous news. So you're covering your bases ahead of time. And if that's the case, then you've got a serious problem. Whoever's recommending this, you guys need to get out of ministry. If you can't trust that you're going to do it right, just get out of the way and let somebody else in who's willing to do it right.
I mean, I'm trying to think, would a donor list be considered a trade secret?
Not at a church.
It wouldn't be a trade secret. You may not want that information to get out just for the privacy of those who are giving, just their financial information. But
still, wouldn't that be illegal as opposed to needing someone to have a binding contract and not ever speak about it?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure the legalness of it.
I mean, again, I just pretend to be a lawyer on the radio, but I'm telling you,
I
I
mean-
don't think ministries should ever have non-disclosure agreements. Where's integrity?
Yeah.
What are you hiding?
Right. And I think that they're not using it just for trade secrets anymore. They're using it for everything.
They're using it to cover up abuse. And so there's a guy in Texas who's trying to change this. I mean, what I can't believe is it's just one guy in Texas, but it is apparently at this moment. I can't believe this isn't a larger issue. But I want to share with you what one legislator in Texas is doing, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about this together. But first, on WCRF Mornings with Brian, we have a quick break. It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. And I'm here to tell you, I think there's certain types of NDAs that are BAD.
YES. The once was enough.
AMEN.
Okay.
LOL. JK. And so what non-disclosures are, if you don't remember, it's essentially an agreement to protect trade secrets. It's been around since like the 1940s. It's so you can't sell Colonel Sanders' secret recipe if you work there. You could have a lawsuit filed against you for all you're worth. And they generally, I think, make some sense. I like them in a sense of protecting trade secrets. It's a way to protect a company from having employees leave and ruin their business.
Right.
I think that's reasonable. But it's had some mission creep, essentially. And it's been used frequently by organizations, ministries, and churches to silence people who've been abused. Case in point, you guys remember a number of years ago we talked about the mega church in Dallas led by Robert Morris?
Of course.
Yeah.
Where he abused a young woman over a period of years. Her name is Cindy Clemenshire, and she actually spoke to the Texas state legislature about her experience. Because when she finally went to Morris at age 37, he offered $25,000 as long as she signed an NDA.
It's hard to pass up $25,000 too.
Yeah, and that's what she said. She's like, I really could have used that money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She'd been in counseling for quite some time since he's done that to her. And it racks up bills. Not everyone is as fortunate to have a counseling ministry like we do in the area. So she was racking up the cost, and she needed that counseling to help her deal with the ongoing effects of what he did to her.
Now, it feels gross. Lauren, theologically, where would you take us here? The idea of a pastor sexually abuses a little girl, and when she finally says something, he goes, I'll give you $25,000 if you sign an NDA. Feels like a bribe to me.
It does, and I then worry if no one knows about it, no one can know about it because no one's talking about it, what corrective action and what church discipline is happening behind the scenes. Because if no one knows and she had to sign an NDA so no one can know, then I worry that they just get to hide and they don't have to go through church discipline like we're called to.
I mean, because it's pretty easy to argue sexually abusing children is a disqualifying behavior for being a pastor.
Yes, obvious.
And so one with Christian integrity would have to disqualify themselves, confess, repent, walk away, not bribe a victim to be quiet. It gets me going because it's so wicked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that in mind, there's a Texas legislator named Jeff Leach from the Dallas-Fort Worth area that he is trying to enact a bill in the Texas state legislature that would prevent people from using non-disclosure agreements in businesses and ministries to cover up sexual abuse of children. He said it would render, the legislation would render those NDAs void and unenforceable.
Works for me.
In fact, I'm like, why just sexual abuse of children?
Yeah.
Why don't we just
people,
widen this?
Mm-hmm.
And why is this not something Congress can pick up and fix? Like, why don't we take this and pass a law that you cannot use an NDA to cover up abuse of any sort?
Yeah.
Amen.
Or like any illegal activities, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Abuse and illegal activities.
I'm guessing that his plan was to sharpen the focus so you can get it passed. And then once it's passed, it's easier to say, well, this law is already in place. Let's expand it to cover more things that make sense.
And I'm not against like NDAs just in like totality.
Me neither.
I would want the specifics of the NDA to be written out. Like I wouldn't be okay with you just won't talk about anything from this company ever. I don't know about that.
Wrong.
If there's specifics like, oh, we can't talk about this project. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
Or you can't talk about Colonel Sanders' recipe. Okay, that's fine. But to say you're not going to talk at all about this company or anything that happens here, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, if Colonel Sanders punched you in the face a few times, I feel like you can say that.
Right. Yeah.
But you can't share a secret recipe.
Yeah.
Well, we should start a law. That's not how you do it. I don't know, call your congressman, do whatever. We're just talking on the radio about it. But I love this idea out of Texas, and I wish it would spread like wildfire to protect abuse victims. Because the other part of this, of course, is that these are rarely challenged in court.
You can't.
Yeah, because victims can't afford it. Usually people who've been victimized in this way are rendered defenseless in a number of areas. What, are you going to hire a lawyer to go fight the big bad company because you signed an NDA and took money? It's re-victimizing. Okay. Whew. I'm wound up. Before we go today, I did want to share one other thing. So shifting gears. Our friend Daria, somebody said, hey, where's Daria? I miss her.
Yeah.
We miss her too. Daria went through a terrible experience here a little bit ago through a friend. She got a call maybe a week ago.
Yeah.
She lived in Florida for a number of years, worked at a Christian radio station there, and a friend of hers, 4 young kids, and a husband, was in a car accident and tragically died. And so naturally, Daria wanted to be there to support in this terrible, terrible tragedy. And she's had some encouraging information for us about how much the community surrounded this family and the church is supporting them. But she's today in the tough journey of attending a funeral of somebody who's gone far too soon.
Yeah.
And she told us we could share that with you. I think she would love your prayers today. And then she's going to kind of reflect on that when she comes back. Because those are difficult experiences. But often through those pains and difficult experiences comes some insights and some ways to learn, you know.
And difficult but common.
Right.
Yeah. Far too common.
Yeah.
So be praying for Daria, and we'll get an update from her on Monday. Meanwhile, tomorrow is Follow-Up Friday, and our special guest, the Pastor Scott Lessing, Scotty the Hottie, Pastor Scoot. And there's a rumor that his wife, Maureen, the first lady of the church, might be coming in. So Maureen Lessing may be here for sure. Pastor Scott Lessing. I can't wait. He's got a great laugh, and he thinks I'm funny. So I always feel great on Fridays, like I'm winning something, you know?
Yeah. You're going to get a little Lessing and then Mo Lessing.
I know.
Ha, ha, ha.
I loved it. Lauren needs to be rescued. So we'll just, you know what? Let's just stop
Let
this
J.D.
for now.
Greer rescue me.
Yeah, here's J.D. Greer.